You have the power to take control of prediabetes. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
If you're considering a career in broadcasting, 1620 The Zone and the Nebraska Broadcasters Association Foundation can help you become part of this exciting field. 3 $2,000 scholarships are available to 4-year college and university students who will have completed 30 credits as of May 31st, 2025. Let us help you reach your career goals. For more information, contact 1620 The Zone or click ne-ba.org. Application deadline is March 1st, 2025.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Crossover. Oh, killer crossover.
Just crossover. It just crossed him over. Danced to another victim to the crossovers. Cross him up and sit him down.
Crossovers powered by Everlevel Concrete Repair in Omaha at everlevelconcrete.com.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, guys.
Hi. Hello.
Hello.
What's going on?
I'm tired.
What?
Long night. I don't know. It was one of those things where I slept for too long and I woke up in like the middle of my REM sleep.
Okay.
So it was just one of those where it's just kind of groggy and now I'm hitting the wall. Typically I get less sleep, but I feel more energized. But then
10 o'clock.
I know. Got a lot to do today.
You do?
Yeah.
More furniture?
Got to build a couple. Actually, no joke. Got to build 2 more tables and go and work out and do a little studying, a little watching, little preparations, a little emails,
Studying?
send out.
Are you still in college?
Just study stuff, just go back in the archives. Look
College
grind,
college basketball, college football,
just everything. I got a doc and just kind of just take notes and whatnot.
What are you doing? Making your way through some old games and stuff? Old Husker games? Nice.
Yep.
Some Mike Eckler era games?
Yeah, just a lot of, getting more knowledgeable about that stuff.
Attaboy.
Just piling it up. Not that I don't know anything. I know plenty.
Were you around for Bob Diaco?
No, I wasn't.
Man, I can tell you whatever you want to know about that one year.
But no, just kind of chilling out.
I would not advise you to watch any games from 2017. You can skip 2017.
I'm waiting to get my golf clubs. I need to get my golf clubs because I need to start hitting the range. Need to start improving my short game. Need to start getting the driver out. It's been like
you are right around. This is right around the time where it's like I have to get good at golf.
Yes, I think it's an important social skill at this point for me to be. I'm at the point where I can play. Like I can play with better people where I'm not like necessarily a nuisance.
So
and I have good golf etiquette, which is half the battle.
You'll realize in 10 years, you'll realize that you've gotten like a little bit better.
Yeah.
But marginally.
Yeah.
And it probably wasn't worth your time. And then at that point, you will say, how much work do I really need? Extra work do I need to? So you'll meet a crossroads.
Yeah.
I have met this crossroads in my life. And I have decided, I don't think I'm going to put a whole lot more effort into trying being 5 strokes better than what I was 5 years. So I am what I am at this point.
When I was in college,
it's about decision making.
For me, the decision making was, basically playing a round of golf and having, a couple of beverages and libations and whatnot is around like what it would cost for me to go out like on the town.
That's right.
So it started becoming like, well, you either golf today or you get to go out at night. And so more oftentimes than not, it turns into, well, I'll just go out as opposed to golfing.
That's probably better.
You
get better at going out at night.
Yes. So now I'm at the point now, though, where very thankfully financially it's not as big of a 1-2 sacrifice where I can actually go and golf now. But golf is expensive.
It is.
Like, it gets up there.
It keeps getting more expensive.
Exactly, because you keep getting better and better. You want to play nicer courses, and then it gets, more and more money being dropped. It can get out of hand real quickly.
Are you into, are you going to be locked into the waste management this weekend?
So I'm just at the point now where I really don't have a ton of friends in Omaha, and it's just not, I have a couple, but it's just not as accessible for me to do things as it once was in my life. And so I just watch everything now. I just turn on everything. Everything gets turned on. Everything gets an eye to it. I have
a take about the waste management.
Do you? So
yep,
I don't like how it's just turned into this booze fest. Like,
me neither.
It
is jump the shark. There is too much. It is it was good. It was its own little thing.
Yes.
And now it has become this destination like thing, and it's too crowded, and there's too much partying.
They had a bunch of problems, right?
They had so many problems. They oversold it.
So, yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if it was. I saw the the chart come out a couple days ago, but like the arrests.
Yeah,
the arrests and the ejections have gone up drastically over the last 3 years.
Scheffler.
And that's just Scotty Scheffler.
There was, I remember a Twitter thread about someone who had gone to more waste management opens before last year and had talked about how this year was just an absolute mess and how it just was not a good time because but
wasn't the Super Bowl 2 years ago? Wasn't the Super Bowl in Phoenix? And people did both the waste management and the Super Bowl or something like that.
That was the last Eagles. Wasn't that the last Eagles?
I think that's right.
I think it was Eagles.
Definitely because everybody was talking about the stupid grass.
Yeah, well, we talked about that today. I was telling Gary, I go, how frustrating was that for your team to win a Super Bowl, and all anyone could talk about was the damn turf.
All anyone wants to do is discredit the Chiefs.
It is a little annoying. I like in sports in general, I like niche little things, period. I just like niche stuff, right? It's just little tidbits you wouldn't know. Like, for example, like the Players' Championship in golf. Do you know what that's considered?
The fifth major.
The fifth major. Like,
everything's the fifth major.
I like how there's like a fifth major. You know what I'm saying?
Everything's
like,
the fifth major, though. Once they start calling 6 tournaments the fifth major.
That's a good point.
I feel like every 2 weeks in golf, they're like, this is kind of like the fifth major. And I'm like, how about you just pick one and just make it a fifth major, or just don't talk about it?
Sure. Golf. I like how
the way stop playing simulator golf. Nobody cares.
I liked how the Waste Management Open was a niche. Hey,
like
a niche on the down low.
Not anymore.
You can get messed up here.
Same thing happened with a similar thing happened with spring training. Like, people, like, you try to go to a spring training game now, and you're gonna have to pay a lot of money for tickets. And it is like a tough ticket in some cases. I mean, as a Cubs fan, like, they sell out every game at spring training.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I thought the whole fun of spring training was kind of just walking around, it's a low stress, low impact environment. No, not at Cubs spring training.
It was, so I went to a spring training game and there was way too many people.
Yep.
And like, I spent way too much money. I'm like, why am I spending more money here than I would at an actual regular season game? It was a little bit ridiculous. I did enjoy my time though. We were up on the hill and like we were hanging out. Like another
at the Cubs new park, Sloan Park,
Sloan Park.
Yeah.
Here's what I like. Here's another one. Like in the UFC, it used to be like a big deal for a fighter to fight in their hometown, but you really had to like earn it. Like, you had to be like a legitimate dude. Like, you had to win like big fights and like go the distance and be a champion, like be a rising star to the point where it's like, all right, we got to get this guy in his hometown. Now it's like you're Joe Schmo and you win one fight and it's immediately like, well, we got to fight in his hometown. We got to fight there. Like, I don't know. It's just not. It doesn't have the quality it once had.
John emails in on the Equitable Bank inbox.
Hi, John.
Hi, John.
Matt may have more friends in Omaha if he realized that Pepsi over Coke in Memorial Stadium is indeed a big deal. I have no context for this. What is this?
I did not say it wasn't a big deal. Okay.
Are you team Pepsi?
I don't drink it. I don't drink either. I drink
water
or beer or, Irish coffees or I have diet. But
you Dasani or Aquafina?
I don't really care. I just buy something.
Oh, there's a difference.
I know.
There's
So
a difference.
Gary was talking about how they need to get Coke into Memorial Stadium.
The long standing tradition of needing to get Coke in Memorial Stadium.
And I go, is that?
Now that there's no Valentinos anymore.
I asked him for you. I go, for you, Gary, is that a big deal? He goes, yeah, absolutely.
It's a huge deal.
And I asked him, I go, if you were at a restaurant and you said Coke and they were like, well, we have Pepsi. He goes, I would get an unsweetened iced tea at that point.
I would still get it. I would still take the Pepsi, but I would be less happy about it.
Yeah, I once again, I want a
Diet Coke.
It's one of those
a Diet Coke and to watch a Husker game.
Can I be honest with you guys? It's one of those rare things where I don't have an opinion on it.
That's fine. You cannot have an opinion. It's okay to say, I do not have an opinion.
I do not have an opinion on that.
I do not care.
I do not care.
All right. Good job.
You drink what you want.
That's growth.
I know.
All right. Next, let's play a little game.
Sure.
We can all get it on this. Josh, you just saw this come across on Twitter. The NBA Celebrity All-Star Basketball game rosters have been announced.
Lord.
So let's play the game of who are these people? And do you know
what made them famous?
No,
yes.
Do you just know who they are first? Do you know their names? And then what made them famous?
Okay. Roll down.
So team 1 will be led by Barry Bonds.
Okay. I know who that is, and I know how he became famous.
Okay. Good.
He's the former Pittsburgh Pirate.
Hitting a lot of home runs.
Did he?
Yeah. 700 some.
Wow. I didn't
got
know that.
walked a lot.
Yeah. Got intentionally walked with the bases loaded.
I remember
by my dear friend Greg Olson.
I remember Barry Bonds as a Gold Glover.
Yeah. Back in the day.
Tongue in cheek.
All right. His assistant coach will be 2 Chainz.
Okay, I know 2 Chainz.
All right. So Barry Bonds and 2 Chainz will lead the team.
I used to get 2 Chainz and Waka Flocka confused. Don't ask me why.
They will lead the team that will line up like this.
Do they have a starting lineup, or is it by alphabetical order?
It's just play. This is by alphabetical order.
Okay.
Kai Cenat.
So that's a famous streamer.
Yep.
You know who that is?
I've heard that name. He's been in this realm for a couple years now. So he's
famous.
He's like a Twitch guy.
He
Twitch
plays
guy.
vids. No, not really. He's he just has these funny streams where the cameras just keep rolling.
He does
bits. Yeah, a little bit like Drewski.
Baron Davis.
I know Baron Davis.
Good. Rome Flynn.
Nope.
No clue.
No clue. Alicia Gray.
Alicia Gray.
No.
Alicia Gray sounds like a singer, but how could I know?
Alicia Gray. I think she's a TikTok.
Oh, okay.
Alicia Gray.
Yeah, check that out.
No, she's an American basketball player.
All right.
Atlanta Dream Guard, Alicia Gray.
Mickey Guyton.
Who?
That is a singer.
That sounds like a singer.
Mickey Guyton, isn't that a former boxer?
No, I think you're thinking
Mickey Ward.
I think you're thinking of Mickey from Rocky.
No, I'm thinking of Mickey Ward.
Tucker Halpern.
Nope.
Not Jim Halpert.
Nope.
Noah Khan.
Noah Khan is a famous country artist.
Country
musician of some kind.
I'd call it
folk,
contemporary
folk. Yeah.
Okay. Danny Ramirez.
See, he's one letter off from me giving a crap.
I know.
You were right there, Danny.
Masai.
No idea.
Russell.
Nope.
All right. Pablo Schreiber.
No idea.
All right. Dylan Wang.
Okay, we got to look these people up.
Nope, you're good. I don't think you have
I want to see Pablo Schreiber.
All right.
He's a Canadian actor. Is this in Toronto?
No, it's in San Francisco.
So why is Pablo Schreiber Canadian? Okay.
The other team will be led by coaches Jerry Rice.
Yep.
And Kabi Lame.
He is a TikToker.
I don't know what that is.
He's like the guy who does like the, he does the hands.
Oh, that guy. Okay, like I know that guy. You know this guy.
This guy does it.
All right.
Why are you doing it that way?
Connor, I know this TikToker, so you know this TikToker.
All right. Maybe not. I'm not on that part of TikTok.
I'm not looking at it, but if Kai Cenat is on
He's on Team Barry Bonds.
Can I take a guess who might be on the other team if Kai Sinet's on the?
Go for it. Yeah.
I have a confident feeling that Drewski will be on one of these teams.
Great call by you.
Thank you.
Drewski is on Team Jerry Rice. All right. Other people on Team Jerry Rice. Matt Barnes.
I know
who that guy
Barnes,
is.
the basketball player.
Matt Barnes got outed for being a dog.
Yeah.
Single name Bailey.
That's right.
That might be a wrestler.
It is a wrestler.
It is.
All right.
No, well, I don't know. There might be a different Bailey, Josh.
Well, I imagine with this taking place in the San Francisco area.
Oh, that it is Bailey. She won the women's 2024 Royal Rumble last year.
Oh my gosh.
And won the
no way
WWE World Heavyweight Championship against Io Sky.
Well, she'll be teaming up with Chris Brickley, which is a great basketball player name. It's almost as good as Jameer Brickus.
I think Chris Brickley is like a basketball trainer. I think.
Okay.
I think Chris.
Yeah.
He's a basketball trainer. He's like a famous basketball guy.
AP Dillon. AP DeHillen.
App Dillon.
AP Dillon.
How do you? Is it AP Dillon?
AP Dillon.
Is it like a? Is it like news?
That's a Canadian rapper.
All right.
Why are they? It's in San Francisco.
Tariffs, the whole thing. Drewski is on there.
Drewski, yeah. Drewski's fine.
Walker Hayes.
Walker
sounds like a country singer.
That's a musician.
Yeah, it's a musician.
Okay.
He's pretty good.
Shelby McEwen.
No idea.
Probably like a WNBA player.
Related to Sam?
Spelled differently.
Not McKewoman.
Terrell Owens.
It's an American track and field athlete. Also, just to prevent any problematic behavior, that is a man.
Shelby?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. My apologies. Terrell Owens. Shabuzi.
Shabuzi. My guy.
Wow, Shabuzi and Terrell Owens really down on the list.
I was about to say those should be like ahead of Kyrie Lame.
Team Jerry Rice will be finished off by Oliver Stark and Kayla Thornton.
I think Oliver Stark is this redhead TikToker.
Oliver Stark sounds like a novel writer.
No,
Oliver Stark is
another. What are we doing here? He's a British actor.
Do no American actors want to be a part of this?
I was about to say.
They're not going to get Tom Cruise for this. Sorry.
Who is your ideal NBA celebrity all-star team lineup?
Denzel Washington.
Yeah. How about we need to make like themes, so like team musician versus team actor or something like that.
My apologies to all of those people, most of which I have never heard of.
Tom Hanks, Chappelle for sure, Denzel, Matt Damon. Mark Wahlberg. Let's get all the Boston guys. So both Afflecks get in there.
Happer's Beam Guy has a good description on the text line here from Noah Khan.
Okay.
It can be summarized as, I have substance issues and I'm emotionally manipulative.
Whoa.
But man, does it get cold in Vermont sometimes.
Okay. That is very specific.
It does. It does.
Also,
does get cold in Vermont.
Apparently, Walker Hayes wrote the Applebee's Fancy Like Applebee's song. So thank you, Walker.
Oh, that's the one that Gary loves that song.
Yes.
I don't know the song.
So I did the math. I knew 13 of 26 people on this list.
That's pretty good.
That's 50%.
Good job by you. That's probably a higher rate than last year.
Yeah. And I also felt this way at the Grammys Sunday night. I was like, wow, I'm doing really well. I know a lot of these people.
All these people are on TikTok, though.
Let me see how many I know. I got a feeling I'll be closer to 20 here. I know 1, 2, 3, 4.
Calvin says Pablo Schreiber was the dude from Den of Thieves and is like 6'5" and massive.
I love Den of Thieves.
So you know Pablo Schreiber very well.
I guess I do.
13.
The only Schreiber I know is John Schreiber, relief pitcher for the Kansas City Royals.
Oh yeah, he was positioned as the lead actor of that movie for some reason.
Why is Bobby Witt Jr. not playing in this game? Did they not ask?
Max Schreiber.
Max Schreiber,
the
baseball player,
Nebraska baseball player.
Yes.
So I know a Pat Schreiber from back home.
Max Anderson.
Yeah. Maximilius Aurelius. Maximus Aurelius.
Yep. Love it.
You want to continue?
That's a Gladiator reference, Connor.
Mm-hmm. And famous Andersons. Jeffrey Anderson, the basketball referee with high knees. They got to get him on there.
Birdman.
Eckerton. Anderson. Eckerton. See, I like Eckerton. You don't even know who Eckerton is.
You don't even know who Eckerton is.
Michelson. No, Anderson. Yeah. See, I don't know the guy.
SEAL Team Nick writes in on YouTube.
Hi, SEAL Team Nick.
One of the best things to happen to the
Yeah, I
Happer
saw
show
that.
is Matt. Matt goes through his morning with a false sense of confidence and about his takes, and then gets destroyed for those takes in the crossover.
Oh no!
I don't think that happens. I don't think there's a false sense of
I
confidence.
I just want to get clarification most of the time.
There's no.
on
And
their
what did you
takes.
destroy? I didn't have a take on Pepsi. Literally, the one time that the opinion you asked upon me was, I said I have no opinion.
No, I'm just asking. Like I don't know what was said, so I just want you to clarify.
I like to clarify.
Yeah.
Apparently, I have to do that a lot.
And then a lot of the
Fine.
times you kind of back off of it. You're
That's
like,
not true.
No.
That's not true. That is not true. I don't get press. I don't get pressed.
Oh, you definitely don't
There's
get
no
pressed.
press.
Don't put it on the
never-
internet that Matt gets pressed.
I don't get pressed. Don't press me. I'm like St. John's. I know how to break that thing, man. I'm a Rick Pitino coach team. I know how to break presses. Don't press me.
Nice. Well, I hope you enjoy whatever it is that is going to happen in your day today, Matt.
I think I will.
Okay.
I think I'll have a good day. I think I'm gonna have a good
I like your sweater.
rest of my. Thank you. It was my dad's, and he gave it to me.
Look at that. Sweaters.
He goes, "Your
Sweaters
mother."
are back.
He told me, he goes, "Your mother doesn't know how to wash sweaters, so now this is shrunk, and it probably fits you now." And I go, "Okay, sounds good. Thank
Awesome.
you." And
Do
he goes,
you know how to wash sweaters?
I take them out of the washer and I hang them up and I let them dry out
That's a good move.
because I like my sweaters. I'm a sweater guy. I might be the youngest sweater wearing person you'll ever meet.
Oh,
I do enjoy wearing like a white t-shirt with a nice color. I have a blue one, a gray one, a beige one, and this is the red one.
nice.
I know. I'll wear one tomorrow.
Poll question about Happer Show. Do you know how to wash a sweater?
Yes. That is a good poll question. Not a lot of people know.
Maybe it's do you know how to dry a sweater?
I still do cold colors, warm whites. You know that?
Say it again. Sorry.
Cold colors, warm whites.
Yeah, I usually just throw them all in there.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a no. I don't. I
But now I have this cool thing called a wife, and she does most of it.
see, but like the socks, I don't give a crap about the socks. I don't
Who
care
cares about the socks?
Like, no one sees my socks anyway.
I'll buy more.
Exactly.
See, the amount
There's
of
always more
socks and
socks.
underwear that I've bought in my life, that's something I have to do today. I still have a lot of clothes that I never unpacked from when I moved to Omaha. That's on me. That's on the top of the agenda.
You do.
Throw those I've been wearing the same clothes.
You've been
over
here
and over and
for
over again.
multiple months. You
No,
probably
that's
should.
not true.
And it's February, Matt.
I've been here for 1 month.
What was your first day?
January 2nd.
Wow.
January 2nd was the first day I moved to Omaha.
I feel like I've known you for years.
It's felt like an eternity here. People are like,
Probably
Jesus.
not good.
People are like, Jesus, like yeah, it's only been a month.
We have eternity to go.
I'm having a fun time.
I'm having a fun time. I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad I'm here too.
All right.
Do you know who I'm glad's here too?
Josh Hodgson.
Stinky Josh Hodson.
This guy
Stinky Josh.
always calling me stinky.
Josh
Stinky
is
Josh.
stinky?
Josh is stinky.
What?
Also, too, Josh. You know, Josh and I had the honor of going out together, and we had a great time.
You did?
And I go, hey, Josh. You know what? Out of respect for being here, thank you so much for welcoming me. You know, I got the tab. You know, it's on me. And he just, he didn't say thank you. His eyes just lit up and just started running it up.
Oh.
Just started running up the tab.
Josh,
just
did you get a couple more old fashions?
Just started ordering all the drinks.
That's-
Hey, everybody. He went up there. They go, what's the tab? He goes, last name's McMaster. Last name's McMaster. Just started running it up on me.
That's how I said thank you.
Exactly. Real classy
If
guy.
you're paying for the tab, you want people to have a good time.
Guy
I'm
wants
kidding.
to get me a
I'm-
gift. I got him a gift.
I'm
He got me a
kidding.
gift.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Josh cannot run up my tab. But it was a great time.
Okay. Well, have a great day.
You too.
That's Crossover, powered by Every Level Concrete Repair in Omaha at everylevelconcrete.com. It is Tuesday. We'll start things off next.
It's the Connor Happer Show. Are we sure we want to do this?
Could you, make an announcement that we're ready?
It's the Connor Happer Show on 1620, The Zone.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's the Connor Happer Show here on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. I'm Connor Happer. There's Josh Hodson.
Hello.
We're here and we're ready to party.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're raging here
We're
on this
partying
Tuesday.
today?
Oh, yeah. We're having a great time.
We getting after it?
We have many things to celebrate.
Okay.
We have to celebrate a long, great career of John Nicely.
Oh, Omaha legend, icon.
Yeah.
Word gets thrown around a lot. This guy's earned it.
This guy, that one's real.
Mm-hmm.
Elsewhere today, we will have a chat with Allan Bell, talk some Super Bowl and where to go and what to do from the gambling angle if you are interested, and just talk about the game in general.
This is really Allan Bell's Super Bowl.
I mean,
this week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny because it's everybody's Super Bowl because the Super Bowl is this week. But, you got to ask the obligatory, and we know Allan as a food connoisseur or an eater of all things, human dumpster, human trash can. I think him and I see eye to eye in that category. So, of course, we have to ask the obligatory, what's on your plate on Sunday?
Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you cooking? What do you want to see? What do you not want to see? Where do you want the remote to be located? Are you a rewinder back through the game? Are you...
How has all of this evolved over the years for you?
Yeah. So there's that piece of it as well. AB will join at 11:30, and Jacob Bigelow will join at 1 o'clock. Talk some Nebraska basketball with him. I've been told that the Jacob Bigelow Sicko Road Trip 2024-5 will continue this weekend.
Oh?
In a undisclosed location. We will have him tell you at 1 o'clock.
Wow. Major announcement on Happer Show.
Yeah. I mean, he's gone a lot of places this year. Randomly showed up in Des Moines for a game that was going to be coached by Doug Gottlieb. Randomly showed up at Wisconsin. Where is he heading this weekend? We'll find out.
Is he going to the Dick Vitale game?
I can tell you that it won't be that one. Isn't that where? I mean, that's going to be in the southeastern portion of the country, right?
I would imagine so.
I don't know where. I heard that he was making his reappearance again, but I don't know where at which game this weekend. But I don't think it's
Clemson.
Yeah, it's not going to be that one. We can take that one off the list. So now that the list is whittled down, you could maybe figure it out from there. Elsewhere, so that's the lineup, by the way, powered by the Roofery's John Higgins Weather Guard. Elsewhere on the show today, still have a couple more videos that I want to play from Matt Rule's press conference from over the weekend, including him breaking down the 105 and what to do with that. We will dive more into the life and times of Mike Eckler today. It sort of hit me, Josh, that there's a whole generation that doesn't know about Psycho Mike Eckler.
Yeah, we got to educate the kids, the children.
So pulled a couple things. There was a story written about him on The Athletic by David Ubben a couple of years ago. And then I listened to a 30-minute interview with him when he went on the bus. Well, I guess it wasn't the bus. They were at Tennessee visiting for a game or whatever, and they got Eckler and Compton and Taylor Lewan. But they had quite the amount of stories to share about Will's recruitment and the things that Mike Eckler would do as far as recruiting is concerned, and just how generally crazy of a person he is.
You dug up old pods.
I dug up old pods. I watched some old pods. I read some old stuff.
So that you could speak intelligently on Nebraska's new special teams coordinator.
Yeah. Well, it's a really good hire.
Tip of the cap to you.
It's a really good hire, Josh. And that doesn't mean that it's automatically fixed for Nebraska football, but it gives you the best chance.
Mm-hmm.
And people, oftentimes we do the fantasy football coach hiring thing. If you are a big fantasy football coach hiring guy, like, hey, who's the best X in the country? If Nebraska's looking for a really good defensive line coach or looking for a defensive line coach, you're like, who's the best defensive line coach in the country? We must go get him. People do that all the time. That's not always feasible. Mike Eckler might be one of the best special teams coordinators in the country, and they stole him from an SEC school. I mean, it's a good hire for Nebraska.
Well, just get Devin Hester. Just go hire Devin Hester.
Will it flip immediately for Nebraska football. It's one of the things that we'll talk about today. And then I also have that Ohio State topic that we didn't quite get to yesterday. And I guess it's less of an Ohio State topic and more of a college football topic at large. With them losing both their coordinators, the chances that a team could go back to back these days, they seem to be dwindling. I'll make that case during the show today. We'll have today's I Can't Believe It.
I can't believe it.
Coming up. Are we going to do this daily? I mean,
we could do it at least 3 days a week, I bet.
I would say, Josh, that the one that we're going to do today is not so shocking given the news that we've had around sports in the last couple of years. I would argue that it's not so shocking. So this one feels like a bit of a square peg round hole, but hey, we got an opportunity to play the drop, so we're going to do it.
Yeah, it's a new draw. It's a new toy.
Yeah, we're going to just rip off I Can't Believe It a lot. Also, the Pacoda projections, if anybody's interested.
I am. Very much so.
And the return of college basketball reaction, overreaction.
We're paying for those riders.
We're paying for the riders, and we got so much great feedback last week on college. Happer, thank you. Josh, thank you so much. Riders, thank you for doing college basketball reaction, overreaction. Please, 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 please do it again.
Big, strong men with tears in their eyes.
I can't live without it, they were saying. Wow. And I was like, okay, I'll put the writers to work if you insist. So we'll have that coming up at 12:30 today. That is the setup today. Once again, the lineup powered by the Roof Readies at John Higgins Weather Guard. We'd love to hear from you all. 402-951-1620. You could call or text that number on the hotline. Tweet at Happer Show, at Connor Happer on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed. Email Connor, Josh@, 1620thezone.com. On the Equitable Bank Zone inbox, where, of course, they take banking personally. And watch us along on YouTube today. Hello, everybody. Yep, we're there.
In living color.
Josh didn't even come up with a little subheader today. He didn't have anything to say.
I didn't. I haven't figured out any witty angle to take.
The Braves aren't playing today.
No.
The Reavers aren't playing today. So
probably not.
I don't know. JUCO, junior college baseball. I heard NAIA baseball has started already.
Oh yeah, that's right.
These are the things that I've heard. So I don't know. By the way, I apologize to our texters on yesterday's show. It just hit me this morning when I opened it up that I did not look at the text line yesterday during the show. I didn't have it up during the show.
He did. He was really broken up.
I felt horrible.
Reaver baseball starts Thursday, by the way.
I was like, I can't tell these people to text into the show and then have me not then they just go to thin air.
That's true.
I mean, that is very disingenuous of me. So I will read so many texts today.
Oh,
just to make up for it. I might even read texts from yesterday that we got when I wasn't looking at it. Yeah, I actually might not. But text into the show today, and I will indeed see it because I have the text line open today. Jake writes in.
Hi, Jake.
On Twitter. I'll never forget after the Nebraska A&M game in College Station where we were field level walking out and Eckler walked into the locker room, sees a bunch of Nebraska fans and yelled to us, "How about those Big 12 refs? Dan Beebe can go bleep himself." Jake, I believe you. Let's just say that. I believe you.
One of us.
There was a lot of, there was a lot of passion and energy. Some may call it testosterone during that period of Nebraska football. I would argue, Josh, and we'll talk about this when we talk about Eckler in just a little bit. I would argue that Nebraska needs a little bit of that right now. I don't think they had really like a crazy guy. The strength staff is always crazy. Yeah. They're always yelling and blowing whistles and all this stuff. But, I don't think it's a bad thing to have that guy come in and mix it up. Frankly, Nebraska special teams have been so bad for so long. There's only one way to go. It's up. And he's taking a completely different approach just as far as how he approaches things than any of the special teams coordinators that I can remember. So will that fix it? I don't know. Chris in South Carolina writes in on the text line.
Hi, Chris.
The text line. Bad luck, Connor. Can't believe you'd purposefully not read these hot take texts. I know. Once again, hand up. I apologize.
Censoring the populace.
I'm sorry. It was an accident. But we will definitely get to those today. All right, we're off and running here on a Tuesday. Coming back, we'll have our I can't believe it of the day, which is a thing that we actually can believe.
I can't believe who it happened to.
Well, okay, there you go. All right. So we'll do that when we return. It's the Connor Happer Show on a Tuesday on 1620 The Zone. Hey, we are still offering you an opportunity to get your bleep together. Yeah. What's it going to take to get your bleep together this year? There you go. Get to the gym, clean up the house, whatever. In order to do all these things to get your bleep together, you need money. How about $5,000? That'll help you get your bleep together, right?
Ooh, yeah.
You can register online right now for a chance to win those amount of dollars on our website, 1620thezone.com. 5,000 of them, Josh. 5,000.
I can get lots of things together. I can maybe get my things together and your things together.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, our I can't believe it of the day. Josh texted me yesterday and sent along this link after we'd sort of seen the news yesterday afternoon. And he's like, I nominate this for our I can't believe it of the day. Once again, still unclear if we're going to do an I can't believe it every day or an I can't believe it every week, or if we're going to forget that this ever existed in the matter of 48 hours.
That's the most likely scenario.
I'd say that's about minus 250 on the odds boards right now, but we continue on. We need to make a running list, Josh, of all the I can't believe it's. I can't believe it yesterday. Luka Doncic getting traded to the Los Angeles Lakers for a bag of peanuts.
That's a good one.
I couldn't believe it. This one, I had less of a process of trying to get myself to believe. And that was that Major League Baseball fired an umpire, Pat Hoberg, for sharing legal sports betting accounts with a friend who bet on baseball for intentionally deleting messages key to the investigation into his conduct. Now, let's go through some of it. As we always like to do with these gambling stories, Josh, we like to go through the details.
We do.
Because the details almost always reveal stupidity. Now, we'll let you all be the judge of how much stupidity is at play here. Hoberg, the umpire, met his friend, identified as Individual A, at a poker tournament in 2014. That's a red flag already. Hey, I met this guy at a poker tournament.
He's a good guy.
Not that you can't meet great people at a poker tournament, but when we're talking about this specific thing, I don't know. They golfed, they traveled together, and they watched sports on television. The friend was a frequent overnight guest at Hoberg's home in Iowa. In 2019, when online sports betting became legal in Iowa, Hoberg's friend opened a legal online betting account with a sportsbook and then a second legal account with another sportsbook. Two very cool, very legal gambling accounts in the state of Iowa, as some of us know very well. Now, most of us who are listening to the show are not Major League Baseball umpires, college football or basketball players, college athletes, professional athletes. So these are legal to us. But when they are, I'll let you, once again, I'll let you take all the information. And betting on those accounts was possible only from electronic devices physically located in Iowa, as we know. Hoberg asked his friend to place non-baseball sports bets for him using those accounts to do so. Subsequently, the friend gave Hoberg the username and password to his account so that Hoberg could place bets directly by logging into the accounts using his own devices on occasion when his friend was not in Iowa and therefore not able to place said bets. Hoberg's requests to his friend to place bets for him were communicated via the messaging app Telegram. Are you telegramming, Josh?
I am not.
What was Michael talking about yesterday? WhatsApp?
Oh, yeah, he's big on WhatsApp.
I was like, just text him. Anyway, they went off the script here, right? It's not a text message. It's not directly to your phone. It's to an app that you use on your phone. The app was also used to maintain a separate log of Hoberg's direct and indirect bets placed through the friend's account. The ledger kept track of amounts of money that Hoberg won and lost, as well as the balance that Hoberg owed or was owed when he won. Once again, using his friend Individual A's gambling accounts. Then Hoberg and his friend would settle outstanding debts in cash when they saw each other in person. After being contacted by MLB investigators, the friend, Individual A, who once again he met at a poker event in 2014, deleted both of his Telegram threads with Hoberg.
Probably just trying to clean up. Like, hey,
I got too many apps on my phone. Right. Yeah, definitely. Hoberg also deleted his Telegram account. Hoberg asserted throughout the investigation and appeals process that he had no idea at the time that he was being investigated for betting on baseball because he had no knowledge of his friend's baseball bets. Hoberg said he deleted the messages simply because he was embarrassed by the frequency and volume of his legal non-baseball betting activity. Hoberg's action regarding the deletion of messages made those messages irretrievable, as later efforts by MLB and Hoberg to recover those messages had failed. I'm sure they tried very hard. I'm sure Hoberg himself was like, I know where I can find these. Of the 141 baseball bets placed from his friend's account, 8 bets involved 5 games that Hoberg umpired or had responsibility for replay reviews. There was no evidence that Hoberg took any action to manipulate the outcome of those games. A detailed analysis did not reveal any pattern to indicate Hoberg's calls were influenced by the bets that were made by his friend. That, of course, we now know Hoberg had access to because he was also logged into the same gambling account. Now, Josh.
Yes, Connor.
There's one more detail here, but let me stop there. If you know you're not supposed to be doing something, wouldn't the right course of action be to open up an account in someone else's name? And then once you maybe realize, oh, this is bad, and it's kind of catching up with me a little bit, oh, and maybe the MLB is going to start investigating me, then you delete all messages related to the gambling account that is in your friend's name that you were placing bets on. Basically, my question is, how much do you buy that there is no nefariousness going on in this situation? I'm usually inclined, Josh, to take people at their word. I am. I believe in the best of people.
You do,
especially our fellow Iowans. How can an Iowan do this?
Pat Hoberg, good umpire, had a perfect game in the World Series. You don't see that every day.
He is regarded as one of the best, if not the best.
The best balls and strikes umpire in the sport.
So, with that information, he plays it pretty straight. I believe him that he didn't manipulate any of the calls based on any of the bets that were made during the games that he was umpiring or on official replay review for. However, do you believe him when he says he did not place or have any hand in placing any baseball bets?
No.
Okay.
Because Connor,
interesting.
Have we ever?
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it. Have you and I ever made a jaunt over to Iowa and I hand you my phone and I go, here, why don't you place a couple bets on my account there, buddy?
Yeah. And if we did that, Josh, or if for some reason it was illegal for you or I to do something like that, I would probably delete the evidence, maybe that.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the other things that we always like to look into in stories like this, Josh, is how'd he do?
Yeah. What's the win-loss record?
The investigation found that although the baseball bets were profitable, the data did not support a finding that bets from his friend's account were connected to game fixing or other efforts to manipulate any part of any baseball game or event. The baseball betting activity also did not focus on any particular club, pitcher, or umpire, and there was no apparent correlation between bet success and bet size. The 8 bets on games that Hoberg worked similarly did not reveal any obvious pattern. Hoberg can appeal. And by the way, I guess the other part about this is, I don't know if people noticed this. He was fired in the middle of the season last year.
Yeah, and I just found out yesterday. I don't know about everybody else.
He was fired in the middle of the season last year, and then he was just gone. I mean, we don't talk about the whereabouts of umpires very often.
Sure.
Hey, I haven't seen Pat Hoberg around in a while. Where is he? Well, he was suspended for gambling. He can apply for reinstatement after this season. So, what do we do with this information that we once again cannot believe? I can't believe it.
I just want to ask the question, like I asked you this yesterday. We are at a point where it should be common knowledge that your account is tied to your phone, to your geographical location.
I don't want to pigeonhole my evergreen take into this topic whenever we get sports betting stories or game point shaving stories or whatever it might be. And there's different levels of this, but I think it still rings true here. The stupidity continues to be just off the charts.
Mm-hmm.
You're very clearly not going to get away with this. And once again, I'm not trying to make it seem like, oh, well, he was certainly doing something nefarious here, right? But that if you're attached to this at all, and you are involved in college athletics, and you're involved in professional sports, and you are at all attached to this, it's going to be very easy for people to find out. Even if, and it appears in this case, this was the case for Pat Hoiberg, that you are generally responsible with it, and there is no evidence that you are changing outcomes of games or that your bets had any outcomes on the games that you were actually umpiring. But you have to know, because they all get training on this and they all get lectured before the season starts or whatever, you can't do this. You can't have your friend do it. You can't be tied to the account. You can't even tell your friend to make bets for you.
Yeah.
You definitely can't tell your friend to go to the window at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati and place multiple large college baseball bets, which is still the funniest and stupidest one that we have.
I've got a hot tip.
That one certainly.
I can't believe it.
Yeah. I every single time that this happens, it's the same takeaway for me. And that's the part I can't believe.
You're not going to beat the computer.
But I don't even know in this case that he thought that, which would lead to even more stupidity. How did you think that you weren't going to get caught just because of the secondary nature to which you were doing these things?
I guess.
Were you trying not to get caught, or did you even think about it?
I guess, yeah. He probably thought, well, this story's airtight. I'll be fine. I'm
Right.
Pat Hoiberg. I'm
the best.
I had a perfect game in the World Series.
And I did not allow any of these bets to I was a good umpire throughout this time too. There's nothing that changed it.
Did I tell him to take the Yankees minus 1.5 against the White Sox? Yeah, of course.
But okay, your case, if you're Pat Hoiberg, could be like, well, I didn't do anything to affect outcomes of games, and I was a good umpire this entire time. Just because I had access to this account, why can't I bet on other things, or why can't I be and that is something that needs to be evaluated, maybe, but probably not. But what the rules are currently is you can't be involved in any of this in any way, shape, or form. And so you know what the consequences are. Sam writes in, he has a couple tweets.
Hi, Sam.
I always use my friend as a straw man to make my bets for me when I know what I'm doing is perfectly fine.
Yes.
Most people do.
Yeah. Who among us?
Also, if he has a joint account, if he has a password to the joint account, wouldn't he be like, hey, maybe don't bet on the game that I ump that has a tendency to ban people for life because of gambling? Yeah, of all the sports, baseball. It usually is baseball, too.
Come on, the White Sox? Nerfies were hitting.
Platcat writes in.
Hi, Platcat.
I could swing by and pick up your guys' phone on my way over to the river today. That's what friends are for. Can never be too careful.
Oh, yeah.
Then we'll get away with it.
Platcat, I'll just leave it at the front desk with Miss Cynthia.
Why not? Hoiberg writes in on the text line.
Hi, why not Hoiberg?
Man, Telegram isn't enough if you're going to do this. You got to get the old cheating phone with track phone so you have a separate number and make sure someone else buys it for you so they can't trace you. Or you have to visit our dear friend Saul Goodman.
Yeah.
I heard he sells burner phones.
Got to pay cash for those burners.
That is our
I can't believe it
of the day. We'll be back and we'll talk about crazy Mike Eckler on 1620 The Zone.
let's get back to the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
What's going on? Are we okay? All right. Josh, you always get a little quick on that button.
Dude, I want to keep it tight.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. Maybe too tight in that situation, but we're back. Welcome back.
We're a loosey-goosey show. It doesn't need to be so tight.
11 o'clock hour, the Connor Happer Show. You're on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Don't forget, Allan Bell will join here in just a little bit. We'll have college basketball reaction, overreaction, and which is the thing that people have been clamoring for. And Jacob Bigelow will join us in the 1 o'clock hour. Mike Eckler is Nebraska's new special teams coordinator. And it hit me that there's a whole generation of people, Husker fans, maybe most of which who were not listening to the show, who were not around or don't remember the days of crazy Mike Eckler, who was a great fit on Bo Pelini's staff from 2008 to 2010. And I pulled a few things. Like I said at the start of the show, I watched a half hour, and I would actually encourage people to watch this because it was good. He went on with the Bussin' Boys, the bus boys. They weren't on the bus. They were just at Tennessee visiting a couple years ago prior to the game. And there was some pretty good stuff in there. One of the stories is the stories in recruiting Will Compton. So they told the story, and Will Compton would tell these stories, and Mike Eckler would be like, "Come on, I didn't say that, did I?" And you kind of believe Will Compton when you're met with, all right, who am I going to believe here? Because Mike Eckler was employed at the University of Tennessee, and he's like, all right, come on, let's take it a little easy here. But he's never been one to mince words, especially on the football field. So he told the story about how when Eckler took over, he called Will Compton up. They were on the board. He was committed to Nebraska at the time, but Will sort of was wobbling on his recruitment a little bit. He had gone to the USC game the previous year. They got smoked, obviously. And he's like, guys, I don't know. It wasn't going well. He was going to end up at Illinois or Missouri. There was all the in-state pressure to go to Missouri. And Mike Eckler calls him up, and he introduces himself, and he says, "Hi, I'm Mike Eckler. I'm going to be you're Will Compton. You're the best linebacker in the country. And I'm Mike Eckler, your new linebackers coach," trying to gas him up a little bit. And Compton told the story about that call. And he said, "Eck, you told me, quote, if you don't come to Nebraska, I'm going to climb up Memorial Stadium and jump, and my kids aren't going to have a father anymore." And so that's how the relationship started.
Well, I gotta go.
And it took some time to recruit Will. And once again, it seemed like Compton was making it clear that he was less interested in Nebraska than he was before. He didn't want to go there. And Eckler figured out that he had these two people close to him, one of his friends and two of his friends. And so he started recruiting them, and he started recruiting his parents, all the way to the point where it's the last shot to visit Will Compton before he's going to make his decision. And he at the end, as he's walking out, ripped off his shirt and revealed a black shirt tattoo, and which was fake, and but he believed it. And his dad was sitting on the lazy boy, basically sat up in his seat and pointed like Leonardo DiCaprio, and oh, I love that tattoo. And so ultimately got him to commit a couple days later. And there was a whole bunch of stories in between about the life and times of Mike Eckler and the recruiting of Will Compton, which is, he's intense and he won't stop at anything. And then they talked about the times at Nebraska. And Will told this story about how, he had just got done having shoulder surgery and like needed a place to stay. And Mike Eckler was like, hey, you come stay at my house. And then Will Compton got sick in the middle of the night and puked on the walls. Stuff. Didn't make it to the bathroom. Josh, you can relate to this.
Been there.
He wasn't at work, but he did puke. So I don't know how much you relate with that. But he's crazy. And the stories are legendary. And so much so that there was a story on The Athletic a few years ago written by David Ubben, who talked to a whole bunch of people. It was basically one of those, oral history deals of like, hey, I'm just going to get a bunch of people on the record and you just tell me whatever you want to tell me about Mike Eckler. And it turned out to be just a fascinating story and certainly paints a picture. Here's one of them. His pet piranha was kidnapped after its untimely death. Great lead.
Yeah.
In high school, Eckler purchased a piranha at a local pet store in Nebraska. He named him Carl's Lip Balm Spackler, after Bill Murray's character in Caddyshack, a film he could proudly quote verbatim. Already my type of guy. He was awesome, man, Eckler said of his beloved piranha, Carl. He was big. He was probably 1.5 pounds. In college, he'd bring friends over to witness its live feedings. It ate about 24 goldfish a day. Carl would corner all the little fish in the tank and then just attack and go to town, said Laird Veach, a college teammate who's now the athletic director at Memphis. Just before Eckler's senior season, while moving apartments, a roommate tried to fish Carl out of his tank with a net, and the fish bit a hole in the net and choked to death. Very sad. Carl was dead. To honor his pet, Eckler had it mounted on a plaque, and he hung the taxidermied corpse above his locker. Quote, he dedicated his season to Carl, Veach said. Eckler made a bit of a habit of kneeling in front of the piranha and chanting to it during the season. Not everyone was a fan of the ritual, especially Hokut, who had an adjoining locker. Just before their final home game, the stuffed piranha went missing. Quote, I stole the dang thing and hid it. And Mike went ballistic, Hokut said. And he then returned Carl to Eckler before the Aloha Bowl in Hawaii.
A lot going on.
My guy's got a pet piranha, and the piranha died, and then taxidermied it and started basically praying to it. During his career at Kansas State, Bill Snyder banned Mike Eckler from talking to the media. Eckler and a few other seniors were asked to speak at a fan appreciation day. His teammates offered boilerplate speeches thanking fans for coming to the event and expressing enthusiasm for the upcoming season, as you would. Eckler had different ideas. When it was his turn with the mic to close the event, he launched into Murray's extended monologue from Caddyshack about his day caddying for the Dalai Lama in the Himalayas. At a student pep rally the next day, he shrugged off Snyder's request to thank students for attending and performed an unauthorized Bob Nelson skit to a confused crowd. Snyder later approached his senior with a brief critical review. Michael, you're done speaking, Snyder said. Once again, hey, get up there, thank the fans, and then put down the microphone. Nope, I'm going to rip off a speech from Caddyshack.
I swear to God, I'll rip my cotton bowl windbreaker off and choke you to death with it.
Then, after some begging, Bill Snyder lifted the ban, something he went on to regret. Snyder allowed Eckler to talk to the media before his final game, the 1994 Aloha Bowl against Boston College. A Boston Globe reporter asked Eckler to tell him something about Bill Snyder that most people don't know. You're teeing it up. In this case, Eckler said, quote, the matter of fact is the man's a party animal. Launching into a Bill Murray monologue from Stripes. Chicks dig him because he rarely wears underwear, and when he does, it's usually something unusual. Eckler compared Snyder to Sergeant Holka from the film. Quote, he is our big toe, he said. The following day, the papers from Boston ran Eckler's comments. At a team meal the next day, Snyder's wife Sharon approached Eckler. Hey, Mike, where's this party animal you speak about? She asked him. And that was it for Mike Eckler. I mean, that was it for his college career, and that was it for him talking to the media. He was nicknamed Crash. He had his face painted, one of those guys. He's crazy.
He's a face painter.
Not like, you've got like a tiger on his face at the carnival or something like that. Like, no, like he had the eye black, but it was all over.
The whole face.
Yep. So the picture is painted relatively clear. It's all out there on the internet. And then you watch them or you go on, as I did yesterday, you go on and just like look at the photos. You just Google Mike Eckler photos, or you go to the photo wires and stuff like that. And every one of them is him with his veins popping out of his neck and screaming and stuff like that. I would argue, Josh, that Nebraska needed a little bit of this vibe on their staff. I'm not saying necessarily that they were lacking it, because it's a bit of a confirmation bias. I would have never said like, oh, they're lacking a freak on their coaching staff. But I do think what he brings to the table immediately, that Nebraska and no offense to the guys who have been coaching it before, what he brings to the table, and I guess Foley, we kind of thought Foley was a little bit of this guy when he took the job here, because he had some crazy, funny press conferences before as well. But I think there is a well-documented trend of on-field psychotic behavior that in my opinion, will serve Nebraska well. Now, he's surrounded by a bunch of people who are a little bit more toned down, low key, right? And so, maybe that tones him down a little bit. I don't think so. And I think that this guy thinks that they're going to have some success right away doing this. So the question is, okay, whatever. Great job again, Nebraska. You won the offseason. You won the hiring cycle. You hired a guy who, everybody seemed to enjoy. Now, at the same time, we could play this. He's had success at an SEC school, a team that made the playoff this year, and in a situation that had to be rectified when he took it over. He flipped Tennessee special teams over a couple of year period and made it one of the better units in the country. They were pretty dang good over the last several years. And that's kicking, and that's punting, and that's returning, and that's not getting kicks blocked and not getting punts blocked. I think the stat was like one punt blocked over a couple of years, or 3 or 4 years or something like that. So like, I think there's some emphasis, there's some oomph behind it as well. And there's some real proof to the process of what he does. But you're probably thinking, all right, good job, Nebraska. Congrats. But good luck in that job. I remember making the case a month or so ago, Josh, after realizing, after they said, now Foley's not going to be the special teams coordinator anymore. I remember making the case that the Nebraska special teams coordinator position is not necessarily a attractive position, right?
It's a lot of scrutiny
it's a ton of scrutiny.
Inexperienced coach generally.
And nobody's had success doing it recently. And if you continue on the same path that all these other coaches have had, then you will be chewed up and spit out immediately. And the expectation is that you fix it. So you need a guy who comes in with the energy and confidence to say, literally, F that. We're not doing this anymore. We are going to change this overnight. And I think that's really what he brings to the table. He gets his confidence not only from his personality and just the way he is, but now he's had a lot of success in his career. And he could say, we are just simply not going to be bad anymore. We're not going to be bad at this anymore. And if you want to look at it, the job from a positive standpoint, if you're the new coach taking it, well, there's nowhere to go but up. We are going to be better simply because we're going to exist. I mean, Nebraska has been routinely one of the worst special teams overall efficiency units in the country over the last several years. So,
and coincidentally, now you don't have deeper down on the roster players playing special teams next year.
Well, I mean, the roster's not as deep. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if they're going to come in and be like, because coaches have tried this. They've been like, no, our starters are playing special teams. We need good players out there. Like, frankly, from my standpoint, obviously you need a good punter, you need a good snapper, and you need a good kicker, and you need to execute on those things. But it can be done with players who are not starters. It can be done with younger second team guys. Nebraska just has to be really they have to be disciplined. That's all. And there has to be consequences for them not having success or I shouldn't even say not having success. I'm talking about the process and how to get to success. Like, be in the right place, kick the ball the right way, run, know what we're doing, be organized. And I think there will be some real life consequences to them not doing the right things if it's still the same people. But I'm sure Eckler will come in and be like, well, no, I have an idea of what we're going to do. And keep in mind, that was something that Rule said on Saturday. This is before we knew that he was probably pretty close to hiring Mike Eckler at this point. But he said, when we went through the interview process, Phil Snow was kind of leading the interviews and Rule was in the room. One of the things that they did was they asked the special teams coaches that they were interviewing, okay, what do you see? And what would you do? What were we doing wrong and what would you do? And I'm sure Mike Eckler was extremely opinionated in that regard. Like, I think he thinks that he's going to flip it right away. Will it happen? I don't know. Many have tried and many have failed, Josh.
Yeah.
Many have tried and many have failed.
Good luck.
All you could do is give yourself the best opportunity for success. And I feel like all those things I just went through, the hiring process, what they have been under, or what Tennessee was under Eckler, and also what Rule said on Saturday, which is fixing some of the fixables that they can already do, like getting better at the long snapper position. I do feel like
that horrible long snapper that almost broke the entire program.
I do feel like Nebraska has put themselves in a position to actually make this work.
They went for it, right?
Yes.
Like, they didn't just, well, this guy did a good job at local high school B, so yeah, we'll call him up. No, they went and got someone.
They tried.
Yeah.
They tried. Jake writes in, by the way, on Twitter.
Hi, Jake.
LMAO, Eckler stories are the best. I love this spin. I didn't want to read all of them because I would encourage people to just read the story from The Athletic from David Up. Just do a search. It came out in June of 2021. Just a whole bunch of stories in there. I only read, I think, 2 or 3 of them from there, and then the podcast with Compton on the bus as well. He's done many other interviews in the past, but those are the ones that I was sort of watching and reading last night. It doesn't end there, and there's a lot of it there's a lot of good stories from his time at Nebraska, obviously, as well. When the picture was a little bit different, and he was a different person as well. But it sort of started to get me thinking, okay, what did Nebraska do obviously you could go, one of the angles is Nebraska had major coaching staff turnover in the last several months here. Major coaching staff turnover. But more specifically, let's look at what they did at the coordinator spots, which, I don't know, I would call the most important. I think many people out there would as well. They hired an offensive coordinator with a track record for success, and then he came in, was given the reins without knowing literally the players' names, and showed signs of turning that thing around instantaneously. One of the best OCs in the game. Like, pretty much everybody universally is like, yeah, Dana Holgerson. That guy's good. They hired a special teams coordinator who's now had a track record of success at the highest level, and probably paid him handsomely to do so, to get him out of Tennessee and bring him to Nebraska and put it in his hands and fix special teams. And then what they did with the defensive coordinator position was that they elevated a guy from last year who wanted to be a defensive coordinator and feels like he has earned the right to be a defensive coordinator. And I would add to that Matt Rule is still going to be heavily involved in what they do on the defensive side. And Phil Snow is going to be heavily involved in what they do on the defensive side. So what Rule has done, as he has recreated his coaching staff and he has turned himself into Rule 2.0 at Nebraska, or whatever you'd like to call it, is in various ways, he has loosened himself away from these individual things, as I imagine it is increasingly difficult to handle all of the things that are required of you of being a major head college football coach at this point, especially at a place like Nebraska. And he has brought in people that he trusts and people that are capable of doing the job and said, here you go. Work. Offense, defense, special teams. Little less so with defense, I think. But offense and special teams, certainly. And frankly, the defense hasn't been a problem over the last couple of years. It's the offense and the special teams that have. Once again,
we're always going to be good at defense.
Doesn't guarantee that it's going to work, but it's the process that I'm interested in. It's the like, okay, why'd you make those decisions? How'd you get there? And are you putting yourself in a position for this to work? And I think, unequivocally what Nebraska's done over the last several months is, that'd be a yes for me. It's a really good hire at special teams. There's no, people were asking for that, right? Go out and get the best special. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And I know people like Eckler at first because Eckler's been here. We don't have to get a guy who's been here before, but he just so happens to have a lot of experience around many, many places in college football at this point, and now had success coordinating special teams and found a home doing that. And like I said, I think Nebraska needs a kind of crazy guy as well. And they got themselves one, where Jeff says on the text line, this guy is a psycho.
Good text.
Doc writes in.
Hi, Doc. What's up, Doc?
Mike Eckler was probably the best hire possible for Rule at any position, in my opinion. Like, I'm stopping myself just short of saying definitively, I think they're going to be pretty good at special teams next year. I just think this guy gives you such a great chance to do so. And I think that's a thing where you can flip it overnight, because I'm sure that other good special teams coordinators around the country, many of which who were interviewed, look at what Nebraska was doing and said, we just need a little discipline here. We just need to be in the right place at the right time and doing the right thing.
And we need to get rid of that long snapper who deserves to be drawn.
And get that guy out of there. And we need a little discipline. We need to be in the right place, and we need to get rid of some of the fluff. We need to get rid of, like, let's just do a whole bunch of simple things really, really well, and we'll be much, much, much better at special teams overnight. And then you can jump from there. I think that's going to happen. I've thought that they were going to get better at special teams before, but I've never been more convinced than now. So throw whatever Rule said on Saturday out the window, because he was like, long snapper, and it wasn't necessarily anything that we did or didn't do or whatever. And then he went out and hired this guy. So forget all that. They made a really, really good choice.
What a liar.
All right. We will come back. Let's have a chat with our dear friend, Allan Bell. What are we looking forward to for the Super Bowl?
Get your pens out, your notepads, maybe a notes app on your phone.
What's the thing that we bet every year in the Super? Oh, punts.
Punts.
Okay.
Punts over and under.
So we'll see. We always bet the over, right?
Usually, yeah.
Okay. So we'll check on that with AB coming up on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone. But I'd like to remind people that cake is coming to Omaha.
I love cake.
Cake is coming to Omaha. Not cake by the ocean. Cake. He's going for distance. He's going for speed.
Oh, the musical band Cake.
Cake, short skirt, long jacket.
That's
yes, right. Those guys are coming to the Astro on June 1st. And you can listen to Unsportsmanlike Conduct this week if you would like to win your way into the show. Details are also online on our website, 1620thezone.com.
Super Week on 1620 The Zone. Powered by Moose Roofing and OSI Oakland.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Allan Bell. The AB3 on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
That's right. Here we go. Josh said earlier that this is like our Super Bowl, but it actually is our Super Bowl, as we're joined now on the hotline by our dear friend Allan Bell driving the line. AB, hello. How are you?
Hello, good friend. How are we, sir?
Fantastic. I just had to dive into, there's so many things. I just had to pull up the bet that we do every year and that we all agree upon and that I root for in the Super Bowl. Punts. The over-under on punts is 6.5, and you can get a little plus money on the over. I feel like we've had some success here. Is this one of the ones that you'll be tracking this weekend?
It is, and you know what? We're going with it. Here's the tough part. You have two teams that are not afraid to go for it on fourth down. Philadelphia especially, man.
True.
Like, they do it all the time. That being said, we're going over 6.5. This number is low. All right. It is the Super Bowl. We can steal some early. Okay. And I think that penalties are going to play a factor in this game, specifically offensive holding. Ron Torbert, the head referee, loves calling holding on both sides. So, yes, over 6.5. Good on. We're doing it.
Okay. So when you think about it, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because when you think about it, you're like, man, we got some team. We'll have some points, and because I know we talked about the total last week. You're going to have some points, and you have a couple teams who, yes, like to go for it on fourth down, but also are really good at extending drives, like having long drives as well. And you might think, that might lead to less punts, which is why the juice is on the under. But I'm just going with historical precedence here, Allan. Over.
Over indeed. We're doing it. Taking the shot. Look, we can get it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So let's, after we started with a very, very specific thing, let's go to a very broad and general thing here. I know you did a podcast about this and you're talking plenty about it this week. What is for a novice or even for the experienced, how do you bet the Super Bowl? What is a good rule or a couple good rules of thumb to be thinking about when you're thinking about the big game?
Absolutely. So what you want to do is you want to take a look historically at how the Super Bowl is played. All right. It's a different game than any other NFL game. All right. Commercial breaks. They're worth millions of dollars. They're going to get to them. So you're going to have more commercial breaks, longer commercial breaks, halftime, regular NFL game, 12 minutes, Super Bowl, 45 minutes. All right. So you're going to see not much scoring coming out of halftime into the third quarter because teams have sat for a much longer time. Now, these two teams have been here. Obviously, they know what they're doing. But historically, all right, points are scored in the second quarter and the fourth quarter of not only football games, but specifically in the Super Bowl. So those are things to pay attention to. Also, all right, do not wait until an hour before the kickoff to put your bets in, because anybody who's worked for any company that has a website, all right, when traffic gets high and websites go down and they stall, these books is the same thing. They're the same servers, all right? They get overloaded with traffic. If you wait, you will risk not being able to get your bets in. So don't do that. Don't wait. I'm not saying get them all in right now, but don't wait to the last second, because we've seen it year after year. One of these major books will have just too much traffic and the servers can't handle it.
That's great advice. Yeah. And wouldn't that also affect like the numbers and the prices that you're going to get as well? If you do it really close to the end, like just have an idea of where you're going to go right now. And then, now we've talked, Allan, we've talked about this in the past too. Like, if you were going to do it and you're going to place multiple bets across the board in the Super Bowl, like have a picture in your head of how you think it's going to go and then go there, right? Or do you just go across the board and just go random.
No. Like, what you said is absolutely like the most intelligent way. Don't overthink it. All right. Like, go ahead and just get a score of what you think the game's going to be. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just, an idea, right? Let's just say you think 30-27 Chiefs. Okay. Well, now you've got what? 4 touchdowns roughly for the Chiefs, 3 touchdowns roughly for the Eagles, couple field goals mixed in, right? Like, that doesn't be perfect. Just get an idea of what you think, okay? Then you start with, all right, does the spread look enticing to me? 1.5. All right, does the total look enticing to me? 48.5, right? Then you start just going through the list. How does Philadelphia, they're going to score 3 touchdowns. How do they go about doing it?
Right.
They normally run the football, right? Saquon, Jalen. The Chiefs generally throw touchdown passes. So, just don't overthink it. Get a list started of what you like, and then go from there. And you'll update and edit as you go. But, yeah, that's a smart way to look at it. And also, remember, there are a lot of people that don't ever bet that will bet on this game. So, what do? They're going to bet players that they know, star players.
Mm-hmm.
So, their prop numbers are only going to go up the later this week goes, all right? Saquon Barkley, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Jalen Hurts, guys like that, famous people that people know that they bet on, all right, you're going to get worse odds as the week goes. So remember that as well. Don't be afraid to go ahead and lock in a number that you like.
Hey, did we talk about last week the Mahomes rushing touchdown? Something that he did in the AFC Championship game, but it had been a while. Like, I felt like we talked about that last week. Are you still on that?
We did, yeah. So, all right, we've been playing Patrick Mahomes rushing attempts,
okay,
like crazy. All right, his number generally is at 4.5. It's at 6.5, which I still like the over in that one because he's going to have to run the football. And remember, kneel downs count as rush attempts as well. Kneel downs at the end of the first half, kneel downs at the game, but at the end of the game. However, Mahomes, he's going up against the number 1 pass defense in the NFL. In the red zone, could be tough, man. Could absolutely be tough. I can see Patrick Mahomes taking a shot to get it in. So, yeah, rushing attempts, that's what I like, over 6.5.
I'm looking at Mahomes pass plus rush touchdowns. So passing, rushing touchdowns combined. The numbers, I'm looking at the number at 2.5. And you get plus 184 in the over. Like, if you think he's going to get a rushing touchdown, he's definitely going to go over the 2.5 pass plus rush touchdowns, right? Like, yeah, I don't know. I picked that one out and I'm like, man, that feels pretty good to me.
It does, right? Like, I mean, that's the Chiefs throw touchdowns, right? Like, even if you look at the season numbers of touchdowns for, let's say, Isaiah Pacheco or Kareem Hunt, they're not really that high, right? Like, I mean, they've thrown a lot of touchdowns. Now, I will say this, what you want to do with that bet, because I like it, I'm with you. For insurance, go ahead and put money on Kareem Hunt anytime TD.
Yeah.
Just to protect yourself, right? Because if he runs one in, absolutely. Like, now you've got yourself a little hedge opportunity, and you can still hit both, right? But that's how you want, the Super Bowl is a good game of playing little hedges like that to protect yourself. Like, I like Saquon Barkley 2+ touchdowns. Like, the guy is if the Eagles are going to be in this game in any way, Saquon's at least going to get 1 and probably 2. And remember, he catches passes too.
And I would say, okay, so here's the conundrum with this game, because both teams have the tendency to be relatively explosive, right? I mean, the Eagles, they're kind of the slow moving barge offense, but man, Saquon can bust one for 60 yards. And it's, the Chiefs they're about middle of the pack as far as explosive offenses in the NFL are concerned. So you're thinking, okay, we could have some long touchdowns, but both defenses are really good and are really good at containing those type of things as well. So there will be, the game will be won and lost in there, and how much both of these offenses can convert, I think, on long plays and turning them directly into scores.
Yep, absolutely, man. And that's the thing, is that, in games like this, you see teams pull out all the stops, right? So if we look at, Mahomes, he's going to have to throw the ball a lot in this game. He's just going to have to do it. They just don't have the run game. I'm not saying anything negative against Pacheco or Kareem Hunt, but Mahomes is he's gonna have to throw the ball a lot more than they're probably used to. So you take a look and say, okay, how do I cash in on that? Of exactly what you just said. Well, who are their deep threats? Kelsey? Nah, not really. DeAndre Hopkins? Nah, not really. All right. Xavier Worthy. Like, that's a guy to where you could play like a longest reception, right? Like, he could get you there. And it doesn't even have to be a score. But you're going to find a number that's like, 21.5 yards, like his longest catch. Somebody's going to do it, right, for the Chiefs. You just got to figure out. And to be honest with you, I think it's easier on that side because you look at the Eagles side. I mean, dude, A.J. Brown could go for a long one. Devontae Smith could go for a long one. Saquon Barkley could go for a long one, right? I think it's easier on the Chiefs side. Like I like the way that you're thinking in regards to the explosive play.
What angles are have we not talked about that you're thinking about going into Sunday?
Yeah. So look, the Eagles have scored a touchdown in the first quarter in 7 straight games. 7 straight games, man. Like, they get started quickly. You know who else gets started quickly? The Chiefs. As of recent, like, they're playing old school Chiefs football. It took them a while this year. They kind of slow started. But they've been on fire in the first quarter. I like first quarter over. I like first half over, man. It's not a bad look because both these teams have also been here. They're not going to be nervous. You know what I mean? Like, they were just here 2 years ago. The Chiefs have been here they won 2 straight, right? Like, these dudes aren't nervous. They've been. So they're going to attack, and they're going to want to get points on the board because they know either team gets behind. These defenses are too good. And then Saquon Barkley, longest rush, over 24.5 yards. I mean,
I know.
Auto bet. Like, auto bet. You know what I mean? Like,
I wouldn't be able to live with myself if that did hit and I watched it hit and I didn't bet it during the game.
100%.
You know?
Exactly. It's like if it loses, I'm fine with losing that money because the price of admission is worth it to me. So I think that that's my favorite play. I also kind of like Patrick Mahomes to throw an interception because the Eagles defense again is phenomenal. Not that the Chiefs aren't, but he's going to have to throw it more than he's used to. You're just going to have statistically just a better chance of getting that.
Okay. Lastly, AB, what does Sunday look like for you? What's the food situation? Where are you in proximity to the television? Where are you in proximity to the remote? Paint us a picture of what the room looks like.
No, the room is quiet. Let me say that.
God bless you.
Yeah. So it's going to be a quiet one here. Just a couple, of the boys here. And we're still figuring out the food. Like, it's so easy to think wings and pizza, but we're going a different route, okay? What we're going to do, we're going all Cajun, okay? And we're thinking like this: shrimp, crawfish, all right, red beans and rice, items like that, because not only is it good and it has spice, they're all very easy to make. It takes, 5 minutes to grill up some shrimp?
I was thinking that you were just going to be on theme. You're going with the New Orleans. Like, I just figured that's why you were doing it. It's very on theme.
About that. Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but it's the way to go. French bread, dude, you could make 1 million of those in 20 minutes, right? Like, that's the way that we're going, is simplicity, but also with some flavor. What about you? Like, what's the way you're going with it?
I don't even know. I don't even think I have a plan right now. I hope that it's quiet, like you said. And, I don't want to be at the grocery store on Saturday looking for all the weird food items that I get this random half-assed idea for. So I better think of this probably in the next 48 hours and then go from there. But I am going in blind at the moment, but check back on Thursday and we'll see what it looks like.
I love it. Yeah, dude, think the best way to go about it is think small items. Doesn't have to be, seafood or whatever, but the smaller the item, all right, the more quantity, all right, number one, it's generally cheaper. And number two, you can make a lot of them and you can kind of mix and match. Big, all kinds of, big pasta things. No, we're not doing that, man. Just small items and a lot of them get a lot of different flavors.
Yep, variety. That's what I'm here for as well. AB, great stuff as always. Good luck this weekend. Enjoy the game, and we will talk to you next week.
Look forward to it, boys. Y'all be good, man. Take care.
Allan Bell, you can find his stuff all week, Driving the Line. He's got some good stuff out there on how to bet it, which angles you want to take. where people make their mistakes and stuff like that. And I feel like every day of the week there will be like this new angle. It's like, hey, I saw this stat and I just love it and I can't get my mind off it.
Couple things from that. He had Patrick Mahomes' rushing attempts at 6.5. FanDuel has it at 5.5.
Yeah, I saw that too.
So
interesting.
Just
you got to if you're really super into it, like you could shop your prices a little bit. You could take your picks at where you go. I like to keep it all kind of contained in one deal. That's probably not the most responsible thing to do, but I like to keep it all contained on one app.
How about an anytime sack?
For
I don't know, Chris Jones plus 134.
Okay.
Nolan Smith Jr. plus 106. Jalen Carter plus 118.
Okay. Yeah, Jalen Carter. I mean, he's got a tough matchup, but he's been pretty good.
And then
Josh just likes sacks.
I do.
Okay.
I mean, they're all hitting plus. We said Chiefs would win this 17-13 all those months ago, right?
Yes.
Plus 26,000.
Oh man, it was 29,000 at the start of last week when we realized it was going to be Chiefs and Eagles.
Well, there you go.
Well, people are starting to hear about that. So
money's coming down on it.
No shortage of ways you could do this thing. But do so responsibly, of course. That's what we always remind you.
It's important.
And definitely don't do it if you are a referee of the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Just thought that I would remind people of that.
Important.
And definitely don't have your friend do it, but you're also logged into the account.
It's my account, but I didn't push.
It wasn't me. Yeah. All right, Josh has the odd news when we return on 1620 The Zone.
Super Week on 1620 The Zone is powered by Moose Roofing and OSI Oakland.
And now we've reached the point in the show where Josh Odson reads the peculiar, the bizarre, the comical, the odd news with Odd Son. Odd news, Odd Son. See what we did there? The odd news with Oddson.
They buy the same article of clothing, Connor, and they just buy it in every color because they like it.
Honestly, I kind of want to be like that.
Yeah.
Like, I want to have. How many suits do you have, Josh?
What
are you laughing at?
I have enough pieces to make a suit.
Oh, you got to get full suits, dude.
Do I?
Yeah, I think you should. Well, this is what I want to do. I
I have a black jacket and a blue jacket.
Oh, come on, get the pants. I have a suit, a navy blue suit, and a lighter blue suit. And I have like the pieces, like you said, for charcoal or black or whatever it is to be able to put that together. But I want like 3 more different colored suits. That's what I want.
Really?
I want to dress like a local television anchor.
I mean,
I like suits.
John Nicely is significantly taller than you.
How many suits do you think John Nicely has?
A million.
A lot of suits.
Yeah.
When you get that big and you're in the business for 50 years, do you think that your employer does your dry cleaning for you? Or do you
I believe if he asked, he could get it.
Do you think he even washes? I mean, like, it's not like he's sweating.
Those lights.
I mean, it does get pretty hot up there.
Yeah.
I want to have some suits, Josh. Anyway,
let's get him on the show and ask him all these questions.
We actually should. He jumped out of a plane once.
Oh my god!
They said that in the press release yesterday. Our dear John Nicely at WOWT is retiring after 50 years.
Dave, Mike, I know you're listening to the show.
Yes.
Email us John's number.
How many suits does he have, Mike? How many suits does he have? By the way, I forgot to mention during our Allan Bell segment that Super Week is presented by Moose Roofing and OSI Oakland. Appreciate them this week, and we'll have a few more Super Week guests in the remaining 3 days. And, of course, we will talk about it plenty on Friday. Josh, the odd news.
We will be talking about the Super Bowl.
Yes. I believe we'll preview the Super Bowl a little bit this week.
Okay.
Yes.
Speaking of the Super Bowl, yesterday was opening night. If you're of a certain age, you probably remember it as being called Media Day.
Media Day.
Which is what it should be called.
Yeah, I don't know why they did away with the term media.
Just another organization trying to stick it to the media. But Fox, remember we reported last week, has hired Jameis Winston to do stuff. And he did stuff last night.
He asked many questions.
He did.
He got really in there. I mean, good job by him.
He handed many people W-shaped cookies so that they could eat a dub.
Mm-hmm.
He asked to be on the Kansas City Chiefs next year.
So this is, I have conflicting feelings about Super Bowl Media Day or opening night.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the last place on earth that I want to be, but also at the same time, just asking random questions to whoever comes up. It's some guy from NFL Network. It's my favorite guy, Andrew Siciliano, in his ears. I want to ask him all the random questions.
Our headphones hard to find.
Scott Hansen's here. I'd like to talk to Scott Hansen. Tell me the story about how many times you pee during those 8 hours, 7 hours of not commercial-free football, just football.
That's gone, people.
So I want to ask him about all those. So it seems like a place where I kind of do want to be at the same time. It's very difficult for me to suss out every year.
I want to do it one time.
Yeah.
I do not think I will like it, but I just, working where we work, I just want to do it. I want to do it all one time.
Our guests that cover each of the teams over the next 2 days were there last night. So we'll ask, how'd you like it? Do you think you were surrounded by a bunch of rubes, or were you like, I'm here to get work done, or what? Or were you in on it?
Did you see Chris Prudon in his vest?
I think he stays upstairs.
Oh, okay.
Did he bring his dogs to the Super Bowl?
I don't think the dogs go.
Okay.
I think they could, but seems like a hassle.
Yeah.
So in the midst of the Luka Doncic trade from the Mavericks to the Lakers, a funny bit of fallout has been revealed. After the NBA All-Star Game, a television show starring Anthony Davis is supposed to debut. It is a prank show because Anthony Davis is apparently such a big prankster. We all know that about him. It's called Foul Play with Anthony Davis.
He does not seem like a fun guy at all.
He does not. He does not seem like a prankster. And boy, that's probably the worst possible title you could have for a show involving Anthony Davis right now. Foul Play. Turner has announced that the show will go on as scheduled. They will not be shelving the show because of its unfortunate name and star.
What's so bad about naming it that?
A lot of people feel that this might be a bit of foul play from the National Basketball Association.
What the hell? What is wrong with you people and your conspiracy?
Everything's a conspiracy.
Why can't
Connor.
you just believe that somebody would be idiotic enough to trade Luka Doncic? Or that somebody would hate him so much because of how fat he is and how much he drinks?
We're selling high, Connor.
Like, what is the conspiracy to be had? Like, what is the people's favorite conspiracy about this?
LeBron orchestrated his fellow clutch teammate to be traded away.
That seems like something that makes total sense.
So that he could win one more title on his way out the door with a man who famously underperformed in the NBA Finals.
What's a conspiracy about LeBron wanting to win more games? What's so bad about that?
I don't know.
I don't get you guys.
I understand.
I don't think it's an unfortunate name. I think it's unfortunately timed because of his trading, but that's all.
Yeah, they're going to do it.
It's mildly funny.
Yeah. And finally, two anti-oil environmentalist protesters. No, I'm sorry. That's an unrelated headline.
Okay. What?
Let me get my bearings here. Reading is hard.
Gosh.
I will get there.
Can you read? It's a bull question about Happer Show right now.
Experts at a New York-based art data science firm believe a long-lost painting by Vincent van Gogh, ever heard of him, was sold at a garage sale in Minnesota for $50.
Wow. So what's it go for on the open market?
It could be worth as much as $15 million, according to the Wall Street Journal.
Oh my God.
Experts believe
that hurts.
Painting was done sometime between 1889 and 1890.
1890?
Oh my gosh, it's a conspiracy. 15 million to Nebraska.
Nebraska should get a Vincent van Gogh painting as one of its assets. And like the next really big player they have the chance at, they'll be like, we'll give you this Van Gogh painting. How amazing would that be?
Hey, Matt Davison is snatching up a bunch of art around the world. It's like he's like in the Thomas Crown affair. He's just got a bunch of art hanging around.
He's so great. Nebraska went to a garage sale and purchased a painting for $50, and it turned out to be worth $15 million, and they could use that to fill their NIL war chest for like 10 days.
Nice painting, Matt.
That would be a big boon for the University of Nebraska.
The people who analyze art and go, yes, that's worth something. No, that's not worth something. In 2016, took a look at this person's painting and said, no, it's a facsimile. It's not the actual Van Gogh painting. So it's probably not worth anything. So they sold it at a garage sale for $50. They're like, we don't want this thing anymore, or whatever.
Now that's a conspiracy.
And
if they told that guy, no, this isn't worth jack, and then they go back after he sold it for $50 and say it is worth $15 million.
Well, the guy
that's conspiracy.
The guy bought it at the garage sale and took it to a different analyst, and he's like, hey, this looks like a Van Gogh. Could this possibly be a Van Gogh?
No.
And the guy said, yes, this appears to be a real Van Gogh, and you found quite the garage sale find.
Wow. Unreal.
Mm-hmm.
Hope this isn't an excuse for everyone listening to this to think, I need to go to the garage sale and buy stuff now.
Yes.
Please don't think that.
Don't do that.
No.
This is very rare. This will not happen to you.
Josh, thanks.
Thank you, Connor.
That is the odd news. We can all hope one day that we run into a Van Gogh for $50 at a garage sale.
That's the dream.
Josh, we are back after this where we'll hear from Matt Rule yet again.
Matt Rule.
And Omaha in a video game.
Omaha?
Maybe. Next on 1620 The Zone.
He does it the only way he knows how. With his massive sports brain sprinkled with a smidgen of rabble-rousing. Let's get back to the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
All right, welcome back. It is the noon hour here of the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com, live from Omaha, Nebraska. The College World Series is in Omaha, Josh, and we have it for you here on 1620 The Zone.
Every game.
Every single game. The College World Series, I wonder if they will include us this year on MLB The Show's Road to the Show. Because one of the things that they are including in MLB's Road to the Show, MLB The Show's Road to the Show
Not
this
confusing
year.
At all.
It's the video game MLB The Show, and then the mode Road to the Show. You could start your career in college.
Yeah, it's generally when careers start.
Well, I mean, careers start before that.
Well,
my career started in T-ball.
T-ball. Yeah.
Actually, I don't think I really played much T-ball. I maybe played 1 year T-ball.
Skipped it?
Yeah, I was like, this is stupid.
Oh.
It's right to throwing, pitching, catching, doing all those things. Didn't run around the bases backwards or anything like that. But anyway, MLB The Show will have a college part. So I would imagine you pick your player and you start in, you start in the College World Series, which is, we have now known many players over the last 75 years, Josh, have sparked their professional careers right here in Omaha. At the College World Series, most of that being right here in Omaha. Teams that are definitely included in this mode.
Okay.
UCLA, TCU, Texas, Cal State Fullerton, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, LSU, and South Carolina. And then the stadium that you play in on MLB The Show appears to attempt to look like Charles Schwab Field in Omaha.
What?
Do you remember the old college baseball video game, MVP baseball, 2004, whatever? Like people my age absolutely drool over that game. It had a great soundtrack, and they had
one of my favorite video games of all time.
They had a few college baseball stadiums on there, including Haymarket Park, by the way, and they also had Rosenblatt.
I could hit nukes and look. Oh my gosh, this one's
It's
going
Memorial
to Memorial
Stadium. Wow, cool. Jeff Lisey bunted again, and so like that part of it was awesome, but it was its whole separate video game. This is just a mode in the video game, and they'll have a few select teams on there, sort of like what they did when there wasn't a college football video game, but there was Madden. They were like, we're going to make Oklahoma available for you, and you could be Oklahoma in the national championship game and play a great national championship game, and maybe your draft stock will go up. Same idea here, because we don't currently have a college baseball video game. But it appears as if they were not able to gather the rights to truly depict Omaha's Charles Schwab Field. They have made a stadium that kind of looks like it.
Well, it's not like there's a ton of, as many people have told us over the years, not a lot of character in that stadium.
Hey, there is. You can see the Bob. You can see the Baby Bob. You can see the CHI Health Center.
What if the Baby Bob was in the game?
And if you peek around the corner, or if you're sitting in left field, you could see downtown Omaha skyline with a brand new building going up as we speak.
It's getting there.
But what I'm looking at right now, which will be depicted on MLB The Show 25, is not that.
Oh, no.
So your career will end if you start your college career. If you start at MLB The Show, Road to the Show, your college career will end at something that is just supposed to look like Charles Schwab Field in Omaha and not actually Charles Schwab Field.
So this morning I've been trying to get a little more information on this to see how deep we're going
It looks nothing like Omaha says on YouTube. It looks exactly like it. It looks nothing like it.
Well, I mean,
it looks nothing like it.
I know that Snack Shack.
I'll put the screen up now.
While you're doing that, I'll tell people this is from PlayStation Blog.
PlayStation.
Road to the Show, and there's some bullet points. Begin your Road to the Show journey by playing 2 to 3 games in high school and play 3 to 4 college games in the amateur years.
Sure.
So it's going to very quickly take you through. You're not playing an entire season.
That's pretty much how it worked on Madden.
Okay.
As well.
You don't have like a, hey, we got a West Coast swing at UC Irvine in February this week. Like, no, you don't have that.
It's not anything like that. So let me pull it up here on the old stream. And here is how
it looks.
They say Charles Schwab. Oh, damn it! It's sideways.
Everyone, turn your heads.
I hate this. Why do we have to turn it into a PDF? The most ridiculous of the files. It's a picture.
Why can't we just rotate?
I don't know.
Everything should be rotatable.
Make it.
Everyone turn your heads.
God. This is so stupid. That's what it looks like.
Okay.
It doesn't
look at all those places a scoreboard could go.
It doesn't look like anything.
Just like at the Chuck.
Drake also says on YouTube, wow, Drake. That's the person that Josh is telling me not to mention anymore because he thinks I'm going to get canceled.
Well, I mean, Drake clearly heard you yesterday and is here today.
Drake, it looks nothing like it. That looks nothing like Omaha. You guys are gaslighting me, just like we were doing Josh about that sink yesterday. Although I don't get what's such a bad idea about it.
My parents have that sink.
What's so bad about it? I don't get it.
Nothing. It's fine. He thought it was the weirdest thing in the world.
He thought it was the weirdest thing in the world. I'm going to attempt to make this picture straight so people can actually see what's going on.
Okay.
On our stream right now. I apologize.
We thank you for your service. I mean, this is happening in real time.
It's happening in real time. This just came up, and now it's processing onto the StreamYard.
It's computers.
It will be there, and here it is. What do you think, Josh? Do you see the CHI Health Center? Do you see the Bob and the baby Bob?
I don't.
Do you see the downtown Omaha skyline in the right field? Although I guess you wouldn't really see it in this picture from behind home plate.
I see what they're going for. It's a great value version.
Here's what I see. I see bullpens on the field.
Oh, that's not a thing.
Not accurate. Not accurate. So this looks nothing like it. There's not even a scoreboard.
Much like it.
No, there is a scoreboard. There is a scoreboard at the Schwab.
A singular scoreboard.
There will be 2 one day.
Why are we not there yet?
Maybe someday soon. You never know.
If you vote me for mayor, my first act will be put more scoreboards at that stadium.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to do anything about the streetcar?
I tear it to the ground.
This is not right. So put Rosenblatt back on the game and take us back to the good old days. Jason says just do Command R or something to rotate it. Now we had to. This thing is stupid.
Look at that. That looks just like the Chuck.
It doesn't.
Look at that. That
Stop
wall,
saying that.
That's the same color green as the wall.
That doesn't look like it.
That is the same Snack Shack that is in right field.
No, doesn't it say like Big Eats or Big League Eats or something like that? I was always weirded out about what they named those concession stands and out in the outfield. Isn't it like Major League Eats or something like that?
Oh, yeah, I think that's right.
Something like that. Jeff writes in, why is Hap so defensive of the Chuck? Because this is not the Chuck. This is not the Chuck. This is a fake Chuck. Put the real Chuck in there and put
fake Chuck.
Put the broadcasters of 1620 The Zone up there waving in the press box. Hello.
Trust us. You do not have to pay us very much.
Put official score Seamus McKnight in the game.
Hell yeah.
Put Mayor Jean in there.
I mean, you don't have to do that.
She's always sitting behind home plate when she comes back for the college. Well,
What? What are you saying? Back? That implies she left, Connor.
Andy says that's not the Chuck. That's more like the Chad. Charles says this is Chaz Schwab Field. Not Platcat says Connor's not even on the field. Get some rendering.
Right.
I agree. Put me on there. You would clearly be able to see me in my bucket hat.
Yeah. Do we need to email someone?
I just don't like when Omaha is finally spotlighted and they don't even get it right. If you want to make Omaha in a video game and do a road to Omaha, like do it. Then actually do it. But maybe Omaha was not a fan of giving the rights up or something like that.
Notoriously very stingy.
I don't know. Jasker Todd says nobody will notice this. Do we really care? How many people are playing the game versus how many people have been to the Chuck and even remember what it looks like? Jasker Todd, that's not the point. That's not the point.
Don't these games strive for realism?
It's a principle. That's all. All right. So now that Omaha's name has been once again drugged through the mud, we can move on with the show. Fake Chuck. And don't combine those words together. For those of you who are tweeting at me right now, do not do that.
Fake
Chuck.
Fake
Chuck. Do not combine the words together. That's all. Matt, I want to play this video, because Josh, so can you hang on with me for a second here? Matt Rule talking the other day on Saturday about the 105-man roster and what their plan is for it and how it might look.
Because, college football is a little different. So, we have, our first 57, which is built exactly off of an NFL roster, right? So, when I say 57, we're always going to think about 3 quarterbacks instead of 2 because you probably have 3 on scholarship. So, just a couple tweaks here and there. And then after that, I think you want to start to have, the semblance of a second 53, but it's really the first team of that. And then as you get to the bottom 10 guys, if that makes sense, between 95 and 105, I won't get caught up in, to me, there's going to be guys that bring a lot to the culture of the team. There's going to be guys that are flexible at practice, like Roman Mangini, whether he could be a starter next year or he could be, I don't know, but he's going to be on the team because there's no one that makes practice go better than Roman Mangini. I mean, he's out there catching balls on the scout team, spiking them, just raising the level of everything around us. And so, to me, that last group, and I don't even know how it's going to work yet. I mean, honest to goodness, I don't even know how the 105. I've been told that we think it'll be the day of the first game, so you might go into camp with more. And if a guy's out for the year, he won't count in the 105, so you can replace him with someone else. But it has to be before that first game. So I've had lots of players who, we made a conscious decision to tell every guy on the team, if we did the 105 right now, would they make it or not? So they had a chance to move on. And some guys have moved on and they found spots, which I'm really happy for. Some guys have left as walk-ons here and gotten a scholarship somewhere else, which is great. But some guys have said, Coach, I'm staying here until you guys, kick me off like I'm a Husker. And that's hard for me to sit there and say, well, they're not going to make the 105. So we'll compete it out all the way to the end and see how the numbers play out. Maybe if we have 115 in camp. Right now we're, I think, at 130. So we still have not reduced it all the way down. But I'm going to give everyone the chance this spring to try to make the team and see how the numbers play out.
Well, fascinating in sort of how he's going to break that down. I don't know. I'll say this. I am really glad that Nebraska has a plan here because I don't think you will see that everywhere. I think Rule can look at his experience, can go off of his experience in the NFL and say, okay, this is what we need as far as the ones are concerned. This is what we need in the developmental category. And this is what we need to be able to run a good practice and all those things. And the way he broke those things down was interesting. But frankly, this is new for everybody. Now, not everybody has as big of a roster as Nebraska's had over the last several years. So it's maybe more of an adjustment for Nebraska in that regard. But it's just a little bit more streamlined. And you have to have a plan for not only the type of players that you bring into your program, how many you bring into your program, but now also, what are you going to pay them? I would assume what he just said would follow generally the hierarchy of how they're going to pay people from the revenue sharing chunk of the money too. So it's going to be important to be on that top 57. And I think Rule uses some of his NFL experience to like this. And the response here is, well, Rule failed in the NFL. But I think
okay, Paul.
He is really good at the CEO stuff.
Yeah, he really is.
And that goes back to the situation that we talked about a little bit earlier, where he has hired coordinators and hired people where he could just trust them. He was on the verge the other day of saying, I trust Phil Snow implicitly. He almost said implicitly, and then he stopped himself, because implicitly is a strong word. That means completely 100%, right? He stopped a little bit short of that, but he almost said it, right? So like, he's handing off the keys to people who he feels like, yep, go. I trust you, go. I got a lot of stuff to worry about right now. I got this. I got the roster. I got rev sharing. I got NIL. I got to worry about what we're going to do for practice and spring, like all of these other things. And here is, I'll give you the outline for the football stuff. I'll tell you how many people you're going to deal with. And we have a staff who's going to recruit those people for you. And you're going to coach them and you're going to put them in the right position. That sounds a heck of a lot more like an NFL GM type of deal than it ever has a college football coach. And frankly, I just think Rule, I think Rule not only is good at it and is thoughtful about it. And number one, my first point before was he has a take about it, right? He has a thought on it, but he also likes it. Like, I think he really likes it.
God, he loves process.
And I know he loves football, and football coaches love like coaching football and like being in the weeds in football stuff and blocking and tackling and all that stuff. But I think Rule really likes. I think Rule likes being the head coach at Nebraska, like, and all that implies. And like I said before with Eckler, I don't think that guarantees you any success, whatever. But this is like I said before, this is new for everybody. So you go into this new world and you just have to figure some stuff you just have to figure out. But Nebraska has the money to be able to feel comfortable with itself financially from a revenue sharing. Like, they're not going to take money from the university. They're not going to take public tax funding or anything. Like, this is a problem for a lot of schools around the country. Nebraska has their plan. They got it all figured out. They already got the item line in the budget. So they have that taken care of. They have a good, steady NIL operation that has a chain of command. And they have a coach who is really good at rolling with the punches, but also has a pretty good idea of what's coming and is plugged into that stuff. And I think Nebraska feels that they have gotten out in front of this a little bit. And to the point where I think they feel like they could be a bit of a trendsetter. That story from over the weekend that took off more nationally than it did locally, the one about him, Rule saying, I don't know about the spring game anymore. I'm not so sure about that. Here's why. Oh, it's because there's just rampant tampering. Rampant tampering. Put that on the band name list. Rampant tampering.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Across the country. And I don't want my players to be seen on television during the spring. Like, we heard that from Rule and we thought, okay, I totally get that. That thing spread like wildfire across the country to the point where I got a text from my buddy in Oklahoma this morning, Tyler, who we've had on the show before. He does a radio show in Oklahoma, and he asked. They had Bob Stoops on their show, and he asked Bob Stoops about Rule's take about the spring game thing and why. And Bob Stoops is like, yeah, I agree with Rule. If you're willing to take the hit financially, and if you can handle it as a university, not having that influx of cash that you get from getting 60,000 people or whatever to a spring game, great. I wouldn't do it either. And I was like, and so I explained to him, I was like, you know what's funny about that story? It has not been a conversation really that much locally, even though people love the spring game and, we feel a certain way about it. It wasn't the tampering part that really caught fire here. That was a buzzword that was used nationally. And then Feinbaum or whatever gets their hands on it. They're like, oh, here's Matt Rule worried about the boogeyman again. How about you stay in your own lane, Matt, and make the playoff? before you start talking about the Big Ten and all that stuff. But like, I think the way Nebraska's positioned themselves, and then the guy that they have in charge, I think Nebraska feels like they could be, they are drawing their own path here. And not that it gets you any points for being a leader or having people follow you or whatever, but I think the more important thing as it pertains to Nebraska's success is they know what they want. They know what they want to do. And they have a good idea of how to do it. And you've seen that in the reshaping of the staff and all the decisions that have been made over the last several months and weeks here as for what this program is going to look like forward when college football inevitably changes coming in 2025.
There's absolutely going to be programs across the country that the coach says, I don't want any other team in the country to have anything. So I'm keeping 130 guys under this roof until they tell me I have to cut it down to 105. I'm not telling these kids whether I'd keep them or not so that they stay, so that they can't go and burn me at a rival school. I'm going to hang on to them. And Matt Rule, like, again, you don't get any points for doing it this way, but he, very transparent with the kids. Like, if I had to make the cut to 105, you'd be on the roster. You wouldn't be on the roster. Like that. It's very commendable, very, very Nebraska nice, quote unquote, but there are absolutely other programs in the country that are going to do it the exact opposite way.
Well, I do think there's some gray area there with how Rule said that, because you know what they're going to do this spring. They're going to take 126 into spring. They're going to, that's the moment. That's where it stands at the moment. They're going to take 126 into spring, and they're going to tell a lot of people on, probably 30, 40 people on that roster, because they need to get down to 105, 30, 40 people on that roster. They're going to say, you better go win a job.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we got no answers for you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to really battle that out in the spring. So it also keeps that competitive nature, and you find out who the best guys are and stuff like that as well. So I do think they have a pretty good plan. But as of right now, they can be pretty loose with the numbers and say, well, we'll bring guys in, and then we'll tell them at the beginning of spring ball, this is serious business. It probably factors into the decision of why they're not going to do a public spring game, or they're not going to do a spring game. They'll do something public, but not a spring game anymore, because they want to get the most out of every single practice that they have. Every single practice that they have, because it's serious business. This is where you win jobs now, because you have to know who you're going to carry with you by the time you get to camp. You don't win like you can win a starting job in camp, but you can win a roster spot in spring.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are two different things.
I need to make a plan going forward.
Mike writes in on YouTube.
Hi, Mike.
Speaking of North Carolina, this roster breakdown to 105 is why bringing in a guy like Belichick would be beneficial. Yeah, I mean, he definitely has a good idea of what to do. I still wonder about his commitment. Maybe is a good way to. I still wonder about his commitment. But yeah, I mean, look, he hired a general manager. I don't know if he hired a great general manager, but he literally hired a general manager in Michael Lombardi, and they have a recruiting staff, and they'll separate it out that way. And I think that was their plan too. So that as this becomes more and more like the NFL, you'll see that model begin to work its way into college football. No doubt about it. Sal writes in on YouTube.
Hi, Sal.
It seems like we Nebraska fans are increasingly okay with letting go of some traditions. We don't even opine over the black shirts anymore, which is good. We just want wins. Yeah, I was a little surprised at how little we
thought it would be a bigger thing.
Yeah, I kind of thought that would be a bit of a bleep storm, the whole spring game deal.
I definitely thought we'd get phone calls from people in
can't believe you'd do this.
The middle of the state.
Does he even care?
This is the only chance I get to take my family to a game.
Yeah. Didn't really get any of that. Maybe that says more about us than anything else.
They know not to try that crap on us.
So, I like their plan. Doesn't guarantee anything, but the plan is there. Josh, let's take a break. The people have been asking for it, and we have put the writers to work. College basketball, reaction, overreaction. where we get into a variety of different topics that the writers have laid out for us, including speaking of UNC, as Mike mentioned, old ass coaches and what has happened to the ACC, and Mick Cronin's latest tirade.
Another one.
Back after this on 1620 The Zone. Another quick reminder here to listen to Gary and Matt, just generally, but also I have some incentive for you.
Oh. Have we hard launched that show, by the way?
Yeah, they're in. It's happening.
They're in. Okay.
Yes. Every morning this week with Gary and Matt, they're going to play a clip from a game. If you are the first one to guess the game correctly, you will win $100 right out of Matt's pocket. Wow. It's like I'm in a really good place financially right now. I want to give away $100 a day.
Everyone to like me.
Yeah. I brought this Keurig, but I feel like I could do more. And so Matt will give you $100 if you guess the clip correctly on Gary and Matt.
Interesting.
Week.
I don't hear a lot of other morning radio shows in town. Just, hey, I'll give you $100 if you listen.
Mm-hmm. That's what we do here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do at 1620 The Zone. Or that's what Matt does out of his own pocket because he's very, very nice.
What a guy.
Drake writes in.
Hi, Drake.
Matt moves to Omaha, hands out money. That's right. He gets it.
It's the quickest way for people to like you.
I mean, it definitely gets people's attention right away. So you can listen to that this week on the morning show. The Riders. What have they been up to? Last week went so well. In college basketball reaction, overreaction, people loved it so much. So well that I almost forgot that the segment existed this week. And then a little writer called me last night and he was like,
little?
Yeah, they're just little guys. And he was like, hello, remember us? You have to do that segment tomorrow. We have stuff for you. And I'm like, I guess you're right, little guy.
Can't believe you talk about Franklin like that.
That's just one of them. It wasn't Franklin who called.
Oh, okay.
It was Martin.
We have many riders. Some of them are tall. Some of them are short.
No. They're all short.
They're all short.
They're all shorter than me, Josh.
Okay.
I have to be.
I don't know what that means.
I have to be the second tallest person on this show.
It's in his contract.
All right. So what do the Riders have for us?
They are cooking today.
Okay.
4 banger takes. Number 1, the ACC misses its legendary coaches.
All right, let's do some math here. The ACC, as I previously mentioned on this show, sucks. I mean, like, I say that things suck a lot, Josh, but like this conference is bad.
So does my kid. He needs to stop that.
This conference is just straight garbage.
What are you talking about? Duke is undefeated.
Duke is undefeated.
They're number 2 in the country.
Duke is not undefeated, but Duke is
in conference.
Duke is undefeated in the ACC. Yes, which would continue to drive home the point that this conference stinks.
They've won 15 in a row, Connor.
They're very good. Duke is very good. Duke is separate.
Okay.
Much like Ohio State is separate in football from the Big Ten, and much like Alabama is separate from football. Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
I'm looking at the standings.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Why don't you tell me about some of these teams?
Well, the
Clemson seems okay.
They're number 2 in the ACC.
Louisville
somehow.
seems okay.
Yeah. And then it goes SMU, Wake Forest.
By the way, do you know who the coach is at SMU these days?
Not a clue.
Our old boy, Mr. Dunk City, Andy Enfield.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, that kind of explains it a little bit, I guess.
He's fine. He's a fine coach.
How about Stanford as your 6th best team in the ACC? How about North Carolina in 7th?
I love it.
13-10 overall, by the way. How about Jim Larrañaga quitting in the middle of the season and Miami 1-10 in the ACC? Last place.
You know Miami's overall record at this moment?
Only because it is staring me in the face.
Why don't you tell people?
5-17.
You know what their defensive efficiency is right now?
I'll bet it's really bad.
345.
I'll bet there's only 345 spots.
Now there's 360 some, but it's really bad.
I ask that question a lot.
Yeah.
Miami, Green Bay, handshake meme.
Yeah, it's very, very bad. Okay, so let's think about this. At Duke, they seem to be mildly recession-proof at this point. You went from Coach K to John Shire, who I don't know if I really have an opinion developed on John Shire yet, but he's got really good players.
Yeah.
Right? And he's held it up so far. But elsewhere, Roy Williams retired, and they hired Hubert Davis. Ouch. Jim Boeheim retired. They hired Adrian Autry. Ooh.
They're 10-12, by the way.
Tony Bennett randomly retired before the season started.
The singer?
He handed it off to Ron Sanchez. Tell me what Virginia's record is, Josh.
Let me scroll down. They're 11-12 overall, 4-8 in the murderer's row that is the ACC.
Jim Larrañaga is gone. Leonard Hamilton announced yesterday that he will be retiring amid some things, but he's also very old. He will be leaving the league. Even a couple years ago when Mike Bray retired and Notre Dame thought they got a pretty good position with Micah Shrewsbury, that hasn't necessarily worked out. Brad Brownell has been at Clemson for 15 years and had some success there. He finds himself at the top of the league right now. Andy Enfield, I believe he's in his first, maybe second year at SMU. I guess it would be his first year because of the USC. They're having some success. Pat Kelsey at Louisville. They're at the top right now behind Duke. And then also my dear close personal friend Steve Forbes at Wake Forest is doing a nice job as well. But you look at the coaches who have been handed these big programs and from legendary coaches, and boy, it's going horribly in almost every case except for John Shires at Duke. So I mean, the answer to this question is absolutely they miss their legendary coaches. The league is in a very real transition period right now.
I mean, can I ask an uninformed question about college basketball?
Yes.
Like, is the ACC being bad and the SEC being good at basketball? Is that like football trickle down? Like whether it be money or support from within the athletic department? Like what? It can't just be, well, they don't have any coaches. There has to be some of those coaches have to be good.
In the ACC?
Yeah.
Well, there's a few of them that are. I bet there's probably a little bit of that. But as to like why look at the coaches.
Okay.
Bruce Pearl at Auburn.
I guess it is a sport where the coach really does matter.
Nate Oates at Alabama. Dennis Gates is doing a great job at Missouri. Buzz is at Texas A&M. Todd Golden's doing a really good job and cleared his name this year. Rick Barnes at Tennessee. Like, these are really good coaches. Chris Beard is at Ole Miss.
That's why Ole Miss is good.
Mock Pope at Kentucky, my dear friend.
The great Mock Pope.
Mock Pope.
All right.
I mean, there's some good coaches in that league. I mean, even if you look toward the bottom, like Oklahoma's struggling right now. Well, at the moment, anyway. Porter Moser is looked at as a really, really good coach. John Calipari's at Arkansas. They're toward the bottom of the SEC right now.
They beat Kentucky.
So, I don't know. It's kind of a sport where you could just follow one of those things, follow the coaches and say, oh, that's kind of where the power is. SEC has a really good group of coaches.
They have 9 ranked teams in that conference.
Yeah.
Okay. Take number 2.
Yes.
Iowa State is in trouble.
Iowa State. What do we do with you all? Well, they've lost 3 in a row now after getting beat quite badly last night at Kansas.
They've lost all 3 of those games by double digits.
Well, I mean, the Arizona game, Caleb Love had a shot from 90 feet to go to overtime, and then they got pounced in overtime. Mm-hmm. Yes. But yes, they did lose that game by double digits. K-State's extremely hot right now.
They're the first top 10 team since like the 30s to be ranked in the top 10 for 3 games, lose all 3 by double digits.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good stat.
Yeah, thank you.
I do not. I mean, the thing with Iowa State is they're not terribly talented. They've become a top 10 team because they have a really good coach. And they have so much effort. I mean, they're a little like a team that we're going to talk about here in just a second in UConn. They've created this identity about themselves where they have, I mean, Nebraska too. Like, what do we say about Nebraska? When they don't have the teeth of their defense, it's just not going to work. And it feels like Iowa State has let some of their offensive struggles, which they definitely have been struggling offensively, and they're hurt, I think, a little bit right now too. They've let that kind of affect their defense. And TJ Otzelberger won't put up with that for too long, and they won't be that team for too long. So I don't think they're in trouble. They're not playing up to their capability right now. But with that being said, their margin for error is relatively thin because of the type of team that they are.
Schedule lightens up a bit for them, and then who knows? I
think they're fine. I really think they're okay. I would still consider them armed and dangerous for the postseason.
All right. Speaking of armed and dangerous, take number 3.
Wow.
Yeah. What an odd phrase to hear twice in 30 seconds.
I know.
UConn is still armed and dangerous.
The University of Connecticut, Josh.
That's right.
The
UConn.
Huskies.
The 2-time defending national champions.
Well, they just got done beating Marquette this past weekend. Mm-hmm. Liam McNeely's coming back on Friday when they play St. John's. And then they head to Omaha on Tuesday of next week. That is,
Omaha?
Once again, Marquette, St. John's, and Creighton all in the span of 10 days. And that's going to tell you a lot. They've already beaten Marquette, and they're getting one of their most impactful players back on Friday, and he'll be making the trip with them to Omaha on Tuesday. They are clearly not as talented as they've been, But when they're on, they're tough. They just have to really buy into what they're supposed to be doing on defense. And right now they're just not there, it seems. And like I said, they're not as talented as well. But all the stuff that Hurley says about, those other guys, they built this. They did this the last 2 years. Those are meant as challenges to his current players to say, well, it's going to take that kind of effort because those guys were really good and they had the effort. That's why they were an absolute wagon in the postseason for the last 2 years. I wouldn't count out UConn. I think they hit some rough moments, and I think when Creighton saw them kind of at the perfect time in stores a couple weeks ago, just felt like they were in the middle of something, and then McNeely wasn't there obviously as well. I still think they're pretty dangerous as it pertains to making a run and things like that. Not as like I'm going to definitely win the national championship and you're going to hear about it dangerous, but certainly a team that's capable of winning a couple games in the dance.
I told you last week, 2 weeks ago, I feel very comfortable giving them the Izzo treatment where I'm just going to advance them a little further than I probably should in my bracket because
they have the name UConn.
They tend to perform in those situations.
Now, with that being said, I mean, the matchups are the matchups in the tournament. And if you're an 8 seed, then, who knows?
What if I told you they were a 7 seed and met Iowa State in the second round in Milwaukee?
That would be a hell of a basketball game.
Well,
that would be a hell of a game, and I'd probably take Iowa State to win.
That's the way Lenardi has it.
Lenardi, Joe.
Joe also has Nebraska as the last team in.
Wow. All right.
Finally, final take from the writers. Mick Cronin is right.
How could Mick Cronin be right? He's an idiot.
Kind of what I thought.
All right, so I missed this last week. So Cronin's latest deal, he is really, really not a fan of being in the Big Ten. Remember when the guy asked him, hey, do you think it's like a challenge for other teams to come out west? And he's like, you got to be kidding me right now. I'm going to kill you.
It's 75 degrees here.
Yeah. Who could have a problem with doing that? He's like, we see the Statue of Liberty 2 times in a week or whatever it was. So Cronin's latest thing was this. This is leading into the USC game at the beginning of last week. Quote, all I know is that we're at SC Monday, correct? We're going to get home at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. We should have just had this game at midnight. I mean, when you sell your soul to television, that's just the way it is. That's college sports. We've sold our soul to television. So we'll get home in the middle of the night, get some rest, preparing as best we can to play a team that we played on Wednesday. Probably take Thursday off, and it's focused on us while we're up here. So there's a lot of inequities in this thing. I'm sure at some point later in the year, it'll go our way. I haven't found that yet, but I'm hoping. So first of all, if you're at UCLA and you're playing a road game at USC and it starts at 7 o'clock Pacific time, which it did, why the hell are you getting home at 2 or 3 in the morning? Is the traffic really that bad?
Wait.
I don't know how that's possible.
I missed that part where he's complaining about a road game in the same city in which he... Okay, I missed that part.
He's complaining about tip times. That's what he's mad about today.
You basketball honks love complaining about tip times.
So the USC game that he's referencing for the record was a 7 o'clock Pacific time tip.
That seems fairly normal.
I thought so too. This season, UCLA will play 14 games that are 7 o'clock Pacific time tips or later. Last year, as a member of the Pac-12 conference, a conference that he had no complaints about, they played, you guessed it, 14 games at 7 o'clock Pacific time or later. Now, a couple of those were in the Maui Invitational for
Jim Maui.
complete transparency, but you get my point. I don't know why you wouldn't get home from a road game that happens in your own town at 3 o'clock in the morning for a 7 o'clock tip-off.
Traffic is bad in that town. I don't know.
That doesn't make any sense, though. I think he's generally right about selling your soul to television. But face it, the UCLA took a bailout from the Big Ten Conference to stay literally functional as a university and as an athletic department. And the worst thing that has happened to Mick Cronin is that he has to play 7 o'clock local time tip-offs, which I don't even like. That was a thing in the Pac-12. I don't get what he's so mad about. He's not even talking about the road games where he has to go out on the East Coast. I mean, that's a valid complaint. Like, okay, you got to travel a lot. Sure. But there's also no getting over it. We're mad about tip times. on your home floor or in your time zone to compare.
Oh, yeah.
Nebraska, who's formerly on the western edge of the Big Ten, and Creighton, who is on the western edge of the Big East, have had the following tip times this year. Nebraska has had 8 o'clock tips Central Time against Southern, Rutgers, USC, and they will play at Ohio State for an 8 o'clock Central tip, which will be 9 o'clock Eastern. They'll play a 9:30 Central Time tip tomorrow at Washington, so a 7:30 Pacific Time tip. And they'll play at home against Maryland at 7:30 and Illinois. Again, they played at home at 7:30. Creighton played UTRGV at 8 local, Houston Christian at 8, Marquette at 8, Providence at 7:30, at DePaul at 8. That was a long day. I remember that one. UConn at home at 8 o'clock and DePaul at home at 8 o'clock. These are local Central Time tips, 7 o'clock Pacific, an hour later than when I don't know what Cronin's talking about. Mick Cronin was not right.
Oh, no.
Mick Cronin was right about the idea that we're selling our soul to television. But as far as tip times, you have it as easy as you can have it, because when you go east and it's not a trip to Nebraska or Iowa or Minnesota, if you go like to the actual East Coast of the conference, those games are going to tip off early because of the TV windows that they FS1, they do 5:30, 7:30, right? Now, I don't know what the hell's going on Peacock. I don't know why they're putting 9 o'clock Peacock games on there. I thought the whole point of streaming was that you could just put stuff at any time, anywhere.
Yeah, you don't have to structure it like a network so you can watch both games. Like you can, like there's a 7 and a 9 o'clock game on Peacock tonight. Put them both on at 7.
Put them on at 7. Why would it matter? It's streaming.
Hey, UCLA plays on Peacock at 9 o'clock tonight.
I don't know what Peacock's doing. I don't know why that's happening. But like, so I don't. His complaint is weird. Is odd to me. He's not right.
Not right.
Alex Lincoln writes in.
Hi, Alex.
Quick search: USC Stadium is 40 minutes away from the UCLA campus. So let's just say it takes twice as long with traffic.
Yeah, I mean, you got to stop it in and out.
Yeah, okay. Let's just say it takes you 2 hours to get back. The game ends for a 7 o'clock tip. The game ends at 9. You're out of the building by 10. Maybe let's just say 10:30. Why is it taking you 5 hours to get home? What is going on? I don't know.
Did he do a Matt Rule where, look, you've asked me a question about X, but I really wanted to talk about Y, so I'm going to talk about Y.
I think so.
And everyone else will be confused by what I'm saying.
You're going to have to listen to this. All right, that's college basketball reaction, overreaction. Thank you, little guys. Scurry on off. Back after this on 1620 The Zone. Well, yesterday, some local news.
Local news? We're live and local from 6A to 6P, sometimes to 8P.
We are, if the sports schedule allows.
Yeah.
Longtime Channel 6 broadcasting icon John Nicely has announced his plan to retire. He will sign off from the anchor desk on Wednesday, March 12th. Will be his last day. John Nicely has literally been the anchor of the WWT news since I have lived in Omaha, which is most of my
50
life.
years.
No, I am not 50.
Oh.
I am 30, almost 3, but I've lived in Omaha since like the late 90s. I never remember John Nicely not being there.
Yeah, no, this is a literal staple of the community, a pillar, because he's like 9 feet tall.
Is he that tall?
He's pretty tall.
I never met John. I've never seen John. He's like I've never seen him out in the wild, you know? He's like this mythical thing to me. It's like if I saw him, I think I might be starstruck.
I went to high school with a couple of his sons and who are also tall.
Okay. So that's
where my recon comes
That's
from.
how you know he's tall. Over the years, according to the press release yesterday, he has given viewers a unique behind-the-scenes perspective through his reporter-involved segments that have included skydiving, working construction on the First National Tower and West Dodge Expressway, joining TV tower repairmen at 1,200 feet, riding an Olympic bobsled, a daredevil stunt plane ride, performing on stage at the Omaha Playhouse, and serving as a middle school principal. Did he serve as a middle school principal for a bit?
They don't let you just be the principal. It's a bit. You're not actually the principal.
But was he a principal for a time? I don't know.
I imagine it was probably one of those. All right,
John Nicely's our principal for the day.
Listen up, Morton Middle School for lunch. It's Salisbury steak, or it was like, hey, this is John Nicely calling. Just wanted to let you know,
dude,
I'm principal, and you don't have school today. It's a snow day.
That's how you get the viewers, right there. So congratulations to John Nicely. I wonder if all of the former co-anchors will come out and they'll have a big party on March, whatever day I said, March 12th.
I want to see Pat Prasad.
I want to see Pat Prasad.
I want to see Mallory Maddox.
Yes.
I want to see them with a big cake.
There's more. We've talked about this on the morning crossover like plenty over the years. But I hope they all show up at the end.
Also, every golf course in this fair town of ours, watch out, because John Nicely's going to have a lot more time on his hands.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
You're going to be seeing him at that clubhouse.
I love that.
He's going to be shuffling up that shuffleboard court.
Meanwhile, the Pacoda baseball projections came out yesterday, and our young friend Nick Grimm is adamant that the Rockies won't lose 106 games this year.
I believe his reasoning was it's impossible to lose 100 games 3 consecutive seasons.
Even though we proved to him that wasn't true, and that has happened before. And we also explained to him, and he agreed that the Rockies are no better than they were a year ago. In fact, possibly worse. They are projected for an astronomically low amount of wins, 56.1 by Baseball Prospectus's Pacoda projections.
That's
which are annually a topic of much conversation.
Was that 6 worse than the Chicago White Sox?
That is almost 6 worse than the Chicago White Sox.
And
a little more than 5.
I know you probably want to complain about the Royals.
Oh, I actually have no complaints.
Oh, okay.
I really don't.
You think they're going to be a 500 ball club this year?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Really?
Like, what's the difference between going 81 and 81 and 84 and 80? 84 and 78. Like, it's the same thing.
I guess I just picture in my head, like, oh my gosh, they have so much talent on that team right now.
What I would say is, if you are projecting that the Royals end up worse than they did last year, I'd be like, yeah, That makes sense because is Seth Lugo going to be like the best pitcher in baseball again?
Okay.
History says no. Is Cole Reagan's going to, be dominant in a Cy Young candidate? History says no. Like that's oftentimes what these baseball projections do. Like if there's a guy coming off a career year and many guys on the Royals had career years last year, they'll project him like the Salvador Perez sharp cliff fall off is coming soon. I just hope it's not this year. Right? I thought it would have happened 6 years ago, but it still hasn't happened.
Couple things that like really jumped out to me. My God, the NL Central.
Yeah.
Just a Garbo division.
Yeah.
And this Pacoda rank.
But they never are high on Milwaukee, and Milwaukee always wins.
They always get it done, right? Nobody knows how. It's witchcraft, probably. Also on this, if you go over a little bit, it goes percentage chance to win the World Series. The Dodgers have a 21.5% chance to win the World Series. The Yankees are in second place,
like 5
at 9.4.
Let's check the World Series odds with our friends from the FanDuel Sportsbook right now.
They won't even let you bet the Dodgers.
Plus 250.
Okay.
I mean, those implied odds sort of match, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Dodgers are the field right now, Josh. The field!
Dodgers.
The field! You have to take the field.
Do I? God, the NL is kind of trash
Also,
right now.
this subheader on the YouTube is incorrect. Connor is untriggered by lack of Royals wins.
Sorry, I just assumed.
You just guessed.
Did you see my John Nicely one? It's pretty clever.
No, actually, I didn't. No more Mr. Nice Guy.
Because his name is Nicely.
What a guy. Steve writes in on Twitter.
Hi, Steve.
Wait, John Nicely performed at the Playhouse.
That's what you said.
No, the Omaha Community Playhouse.
You really got to go slow when you say Omaha Community Playhouse. Or people will think
it's a local plays.
Yeah.
That's all.
The theater.
He's a thespian.
They got those at that other playhouse, too.
All right. We're back with Jacob Bigelow. Talk some hoops on 1620 The Zone.
That's the country song, right? Remember when?
Thank you. Jacob Bigelow.
Yeah. Whenever my open is concocted, throw that in there.
He's on fire! Jacob Bigelow, Huskers Illustrated, on the Connor Happer Show, on 1620, The Zone.
Boom shakalaka!
All right, Joe, now on the hotline by our dear friend in college basketball sicko. Jacob, you gotta turn your radio down. What's going on?
Yes.
Yes. Hello.
I don't know what's going on.
Are you in your car?
I am in the car. Is that better now? Is that better? Did I solve it?
Yeah, that is better, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. As long as I can't hear myself in the background of this phone call, yes, we're good as of right now. You're still working on all the things with the Bluetooth on the new car, it seems.
Yeah, actually, I'm once I get off this call with you, I'm going to get the new car. So that's what I'm going to go do right now. Put an end to a long couple weeks and have a new car. But that's what I'm getting ready to go do once I'm done chatting with you. But I wasn't gonna push it. I gotta make time. I'm always on call for the Happer Show.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So this is your last Bluetooth call on the rental car that you've had the last couple weeks, which means I just hope that, you got to delete all your contacts from there and all the stuff like that before you take that car back.
Yes.
Okay.
Got to do all that. The clean break from the rental car. It served me well these last couple weeks, but it's time to part ways.
Did you you took the rental car to one of your sicko trips, right? Did you take it to Wisconsin?
Yes, I did take it to Wisconsin, correct.
And then you're going to break in the new car this weekend with a trip to
Fort Collins, Colorado, for some Mountain West basketball on Saturday night. Colorado State, San Diego State. That'll be the first. That'll be the maiden voyage for my new car, and then I'm such a sicko that I will be back. In Lincoln for the Nebraska game the following afternoon. And a football team I root for has a significant game that following day too. So it's going to be an interesting weekend for yours truly, but I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah, there is. I mean, now there's no reason to do this. I mean, other than right, like, is there a reason? Is there anything like? Is there a special interest behind this that you feel like you need to accomplish while you're driving out to Colorado, or is it just like I love college basketball, point blank, period?
So this was pre-planned well in advance. Those of you that know me, people who know me know that I have connections to the coaching staff at CSU, and my guys on that staff, they tell me, they're like, come out anytime. And I looked at the schedule at the start of the year. I'm like, San Diego State on a Saturday feels like a pretty big game. So I had pre-planned to go out there, and that was before everything that transpired car-wise recently, and everything else. But it was pre-planned, and that's how not full of the Chiefs I was. I was like, the Super Bowl's the next day. Who cares? And then I just was like, Nebraska. That tells you how much planning I put into things. But this was planned well in advance just to go see some pals.
Okay, so at least it's not like a last second. It's like, I'm going to hop in the car and go to Fort Collins today. But that would be maybe more sicko if it was that way. But it's still, you still qualify for the sicko college basketball road trip of the year this year, I think. All right, Jacob, let's get into Nebraska basketball. Last two wins have woken people up here after the six before that. What, in your mind, or as you've watched it, are the biggest differences in the last two compared to the six before it?
The defensive effort. I mean, point blank, period. And what's crazy about saying that is I still don't think it's been like their best defensive effort of the season, but it's been a tick higher than what had been going on for the 6 games prior to Illinois. Bryce Williams put it pretty well after the Illinois game. He said, we needed to wake up, and they have, in fact, woken up. They've woken up people who may have been in REM sleep when it came to talking about this Nebraska basketball season and how it was going to end. But no better way to wake some folks up than back-to-back, ranked wins. And I think it just all starts on that end. That's what Fred Hoiberg has said ad nauseum needs to be this team's constant. It's what has brought them some of the more successful results, these last couple seasons. And I don't think it's a coincidence that, I think that game against Oregon, that might have been their most complete performance in terms of both ends of the floor. But it all starts defensively for me with this group.
Jacob, I feel like what's happened over the last two games has only driven home something that we talked about last week. And this is before they won the two, where we sort of talked about the roller coaster, not only in the level of play and the intensity and the effort and stuff like that, but in the way they sort of approach things on a nightly basis, where they've gotten some good results now, where I feel like, in the Illinois game, it wasn't necessarily their defensive effort and intensity. I just thought Illinois missed some shots, in the early portion of that game. And
that did play a part.
Nebraska really capitalized off of it. So they got some good results and have now been able to parlay that into another top 25 win. And I feel like that only drives home what we talked about last week, how they sort of roll, emotionally up and down with this group.
Absolutely. And then they have to, we talked about how they need to start games well too. And they started both the Illinois game and the Oregon game well. Whether it be, the other team missing shots or them or Nebraska just being able to, get to the basket and score. That's where the majority of their buckets have been these last couple games. They only made 4 threes against Oregon. I forget how many they made against Illinois, but they've been able to throw and land the first punch. And, we've talked on this show a couple times about the importance for this team of getting off to good starts.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They made only 5 against Illinois, by the way, 3-pointers. And it was enough to win the game. And Illinois was 10 of 42 that day. That's the number they're going to shoot a lot of 3-pointers, but if you get good enough results, that has been a constant theme over this new version of Fred Hoiberg over the last 3 years. If you get teams, not only if you defend them well and your closeouts are hard and all of those things, but also they miss a few, then all of a sudden Nebraska's going to have a real chance to beat you no matter who it is on the other side. They did it. Yeah. They've done it with Purdue, Iowa, some really good teams over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and it's no coincidence that I think the two results that made people, wake up a little bit with this group, one that happened just down the street from your studio back in November, and then that Illinois game, the opponent took 42 threes and made a low percentage, and it's a constant. It's a teams getting up around 35, 40 threes, and just continuing to chuck them. It's the math problem, right? If they're hitting them, Nebraska's been losing those games, and if they've been missing, they've come out on top.
So with that being said, now that they have a couple good results, and they stay out on the road and they go to Washington tomorrow before having a big home game, like you said, on Super Bowl Sunday, where do you feel like they're now? This is more of a feeling than anything, because it seems that nobody actually knows, but where do you feel like they're positioned now? Certainly compared to a week ago, it's a lot different, but where do you feel like their spot's at right now?
I feel like they're squarely in that 8, 9, 10 in the Big Ten. Shockingly, right in the middle. We've talked about the messy middle of the Big Ten. Feels like these last couple seasons. I feel like might be no team that more embodies that than Nebraska right now, with their resume, the multiple ranked wins, the results on the big win, the 2 big wins on the road for their resume, but then a 6-game losing streak in the middle of that. And you look at the schedule the rest of the way. Obviously, no one will tell you there's easy games in the Big Ten, but there's the home court becomes paramount for this team. They've dropped 2 at home. The winning streak at home is, that's out the window now. But protecting home court becomes paramount, starting on Sunday against Ohio State, and then you're going to be in a bunch of sleepy road environments the rest of the way as well. If you thought, that environment in Eugene the other night wasn't exactly raucous, the rest of Nebraska's road slate includes, in my opinion, the two sleepiest arenas in the conference, Penn State and Ohio State, and then Northwestern, whose best player is out the rest of the season. And if you can talk yourself into some things if you want to get ahead of yourself with the remainder of this Nebraska basketball schedule. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just laying out my thoughts, my opinions on what the slate looks like the rest of the way.
Do you think they can continue to piece it together with this sort of ball handler by committee thing that they've done? Whether Wooster's in and out and made a big shot late against Oregon, and Hoiberg doing what he does, but mostly Bryce Williams operating with the basketball in his hands and being a little bit more aggressive. Like, is that a formula that they can make something out of down the stretch here offensively?
When they looked their best last year was when they kind of shifted to the point Bryce thing, and their analytics went up offensively and defensively, and it was kind of, Bryce Williams had the majority of the possessions, being the lead guard, but it was kind of by committee at the end of last season too, with Lawrence and Bryce and occasionally Sam. That was when they had their best numbers. That was when their offense looked pretty good toward the end of last season, and they maybe trying to see if lightning can strike twice down the stretch, going by committee.
Berkay has been a topic of discussion on this show between you and I. It was not pretty during the 6-game losing streak. It has been a lot better over the last week. And we talked about it was a long week for them leading into that Illinois game. There was the quotes were weird and the talks seemed long and heart to heart and all of those things. And I think we've seen a different Berkay Buchton gel now. That's a big deal for them if they can get him going a little bit. What is the best version of him, and have we seen it over the last 2 games here?
I think energy-wise, we've definitely seen an uptick in his energy. He was scrapping for rebounds the other night against Oregon. I think he wound up with 7. He was flying around. He's been diving on the floor in some of these games. He's definitely, his energy has shifted. Shout out Jaylen Brown, shifting energy. But nice. It's been different for Berkay for sure, and I think I don't want to say he's the key, but I think if he can make any modicum of a jump, to finish this season, that could help take Nebraska places. That Bryce Williams and Juwan Gary have to be good, but Berkay Buchton, who's one of the young guys on a team of old heads. If he can make some sort of jump to be consistent, get you X amount of points, X amount of boards, that could be paramount for this Nebraska team. And, he was, I know he finished like 1 for 7 from the field against Oregon, but the way he was fighting inside for rebounds, flying around, I think the one shot he hit a fist pump and, was pretty excited.
He had the nice dish on the fast break.
Yes.
That got the Gary dunk, right?
Yes, he did. And I think if he can be like the energy guy, I think that could be a nice development for Nebraska.
No doubt. It's less of the box score for him, although that's to a certain point, and more of, all right, how you mix it in with everybody else out there. That's the important thing for him. Okay, Jacob, it's another big one. Life on the bubble. It's going to be like that for Nebraska going forward here. Appreciate the time as always. Enjoy your trip this weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, you always want a seat on the ride, right? You always want to be on it, whether you're on the bubble or whether you're firmly in the tournament. You want a seat on the ride this time of year. And just a week ago, you didn't think this Nebraska team was going to have one, but here we are. What a difference a week makes. I appreciate the time, Hap, and have a good rest of the week.
Yep, see ya. That's Jacob Bigelow of Huskers Illustrated. You can catch his post-game shows on the I-80 Club and pods. He's doing pods. Stretch Big Pod.
So many pods.
Now, you want to be on the ride, as Jacob said, unless you're one of those weirdo idiots who's like, you know what? No, I'd rather go to the NIT.
Well, you get the home revenue there.
Is that true? Is that even true?
I have no idea.
Also, who goes to an NIT game? Like 8 people?
the people clamoring for
I think
Nebraska to make the NIT.
You probably end up spending more money on an NIT game than you'd actually make back in ticket sales. Just to staff all the people and open and get the building and all that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to look into that.
Probably operating at a loss.
I'm going
for
to
that
ask
one
some
game.
questions about that one. But yes, you want a seat on the ride. That's a lot better. All right. We still have a couple more things to get to, including that Ohio State topic that I want to get to. How difficult will it be in this current day and age of college football, or at least the one we're going into, to win back-to-back national championships? And how much harder is it than it has been before? We'll discuss that after this on 1620 The Zone.
Let's get back to the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Here comes the clown.
A comment from the YouTube. Douglas is here.
Douglas, hello.
Josh, what has happened? What has happened here? Everyone.
What?
Well, what you said during the break.
Oh, every day someone climbs in our YouTube chat or in our Menchies and demands Connor admit that it is a down year for the Big East. Why won't you say it, you coward?
Here's Douglas's comment. Earlier this year, when the Huskers started hot, you pontificated that this was possibly a down year in the Big Ten. I would still pontificate that, by the way. Whatever. Down, I just don't think the conference is all that good, right? But they're going to put 50 teams in the NCAA tournament. So, this is more of a, I don't know, this is more of a feel thing to me. He says Ken Palm ratings would show this is a down year in the Big East. Agree. B10 is plus 17. B East is plus 12. I don't know what that means. What is plus 10? What is plus 17 and plus 12? I don't know what that means. But when you look at the conferences as a whole, people forget that the Big Ten has 100 teams in it. It is 18.
It does.
It is 18 teams to be exact.
You know, if Nebraska was playing in the Big East, they'd probably be undefeated.
So the question is, what is the strength of your conference, or what do you measure to be the strength of your conference? And there's so many different ways to say that one way or the other. If you want to tell me that the Big Ten is going to have more teams in the NCAA tournament than the Big East is, you're right. You're just flat out correct.
Teams that can win the national championship.
Okay, let's play that game. Can Michigan State win a national championship?
Izzo.
January, February, March, but not March. Izzo?
That's right.
I believe so.
Oh, okay.
I believe so. I'm not confident in that, but I believe so. I don't believe Purdue can win a national championship. I don't believe Michigan can win a national championship. I don't believe Wisconsin can win a national championship. I don't believe Maryland can win a national championship.
Now, they just found $10 million in the couch cushions.
That's true. That helps, but maybe not immediately.
Okay.
This year. Can Illinois win a national championship? Little too streaky for my liking at this point. Okay. So I say maybe one. Let's look at the Big East. Can any team win a national championship in that conference? I say no. I don't think Marquette can.
Marquette doesn't look as good as they did to start the season.
I never thought they were good enough to win a national championship. I definitely don't think St. John's is.
UConn is UConn.
UConn can, because they have, and they've done so the last 2 years. But if we're looking at them objectively, just like every other team we do in the Big East, I say no. And I don't think Creighton can. So
don't think Creighton can.
Correct.
Wow.
1-0. The Big Ten wins. There you go. The Big Ten. They're better. What other metric would you like to measure the two conferences by?
Teams that sport the color blue.
The Big East is winning
by a landslide.
Let's check the numbers. Marquette, Creighton, Connecticut, Xavier, Villanova, Georgetown, Butler, DePaul, Seton Hall. That is 9 out of the 11 teams in the conference wearing their primary color as blue.
That's too many.
Let's check the Big Ten. UCLA.
Powder blue.
Penn State. That's it.
9-2.
Now do red, they'll say. All right, here we go. Big Ten conference teams that wear red.
Okay.
Wisconsin, Maryland, USC, Ohio State, Indiana, Nebraska, Rutgers, Minnesota. That's 8.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go back to the Big East. How many teams wear red in the Big East, Josh?
1.
St. John's. They're called the Red Storm. I'd say that counts for 2. No? Let's let it count for 5. Still, the Big Ten wins.
Well, if you're doing that, then the Rutgers Scarlet Knights also
you're right.
get 5.
Alex Lincoln writes in, Big Blue overreaction. Text from the 402.
Hi, 402.
Josh, Nebraska is undefeated against the Big East this year.
That's right.
Does that make the Big Ten better than the Big East?
Why do we care?
That's Thank you for finally asking the question.
What does it matter? Who?
Do
you have a Big Ten flag at your house?
Thank you. Thank you. I don't think that conference is as good as people talk about it, and frankly, I don't think the Big East is that good either.
No, I understand.
I see when I look at the Big East, I see 4 top 25 teams. I see the same thing basically in the Big Ten, and I think both conferences are fine. I think when coaching, what I'm talking about when I say those conferences probably aren't as good as they're cracked up to be is every coach in every league saying that it's hard to win games in X league because it's hard to win games, period, and you can't win them all, and they need an excuse as to why they can't win all of their games because they have to have reasons for everything.
I have to say something into this microphone after a loss.
That's just stuff that coaches say, right?
Yeah.
Every coach will go to bat for their league. So back to your question, Josh, which I think is the most important one here. Why does this matter?
Now, if you were
that's one that I cannot answer.
If you were the team that lost the Nebraska Creighton game, which this year, I don't know if you remember this, Connor, it would be Creighton.
Yeah.
You would have.
I got memed afterwards.
You would chirp to the masses that your conference is better than their conference because in a one-on-one, a one-game sample size, you can't say, well, we beat the Big Ten.
Wait, is that where this is coming from?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, like, if
Douglas is constantly telling us what a terrible coach McDermott is.
Oh, okay. So he's a Big Ten guy.
Yeah.
Then why does he feel the need to do this? Nebraska won the game.
I don't know.
Okay. I was going to say, if that's where this is coming from, then I've missed that. I don't see all the Big East honks yelling about how the Big East is better than the Big Ten. I see constant conversation about how Nebraska's never won an NCAA tournament game, and Nebraska fans saying, well, thanks, I'd like to win 4. And Creighton fans are like, okay, well, we did that too. Or we almost did that, I guess, once. And then they just go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and it never ends. And it will never end. It's just something that we have to deal with.
Just take solace in the fact that Nebrasketball is good.
Ohio State lost both of their football coordinators this year.
That is not good.
One to the Big Ten and the other one to the better version of the Big Ten, the NFL.
Yeah.
There's no better example of the coaches loving their conference more than them talking about how, the Big Ten is the closest league to the NFL. That was something that was said. I don't know who started that. Maybe it was Rule or maybe it was Scott Frost or something like that, but that's definitely something that has been said by Nebraska coaches over the last couple of years. But it is now one of those things that gets perpetuated all over the place, and they actually use it as like a recruiting tool. Hey, it's closest league to the NFL, all that stuff. That is made up. That is made up. But I digress. Ohio State is finding it very difficult. They are running into something that I will officially dub national championship tax.
Natty tax.
Yes. When you win a national championship, there's a price these days. Why is there a price? More so than in the past?
Because it's the most expensive roster ever assembled.
Exactly.
Oh, I was right?
Well, I mean, you're partly right.
It's kind of being sarcastic.
Mostly because, as Matt Rule said on Saturday, it's literally free open market for everyone. Your players are free agents at all times. What happens when you win a national championship, Josh? You get to play as many as 4 playoff games. They're all watched by millions and millions and millions of people.
But not as many as they used to be watched by.
That is right. Shout out to the NFL on that one. And what happens when you win all those games, your players are really good. Now, you don't have to say, you could say that Ohio State players were really good anyway. They were, anybody in the country would love to have them. But the problem is anybody in the country didn't have the ability to literally go pay them money to get them off of the Ohio State roster, something they now have the ability to do. Then you allow, with this new playoff format, others like Penn State say, to make a run to the college football playoff semifinal and say, well, we weren't in this thing before, and now we're in it, and now we have a thirst for more. We'd like to win a national championship and believe that we are X amount of personnel, players, coaches away from doing so. Let's play. Let's go steal Ohio State's defensive coordinator and pay him $3 million a year. We can do that now. And then Chip Kelly's situation is a little bit unique because Chip Kelly just really loves not recruiting and really loves getting paid lots of money. And so when the Raiders came through and they said, we'll pay you $6 million to be Pete Carroll's offensive coordinator, they said, okay. Chip Kelly said, great idea. I will do that. I don't have to ever talk to a recruit again. Amazing. And so all of that leads to a difficult situation. I wonder if you were to compare this to 10 years ago or 15 years ago or 20 years ago, we think about the dynasties of the sport and Alabama coming off of their run. How much more difficult is it now to be able to do what Ohio State just did, which is win one national championship? How much more difficult is it to win twice in a row, even if you're Ohio State? Because people talk about NIL leveling the playing field, and that hasn't necessarily been the case, but it does allow these one-off situations to happen. Oh, we can just basically freely ask their players if they'd like to make $1 million and then get them to play for my school.
Hey, you looked good in the playoff last year. You want to come here and be like the focal point of the team?
That's something in my mind that doesn't necessarily happen to teams who aren't like Ohio State, who don't, so it becomes really difficult for them to retain their roster, something that Matt Rule talked about this past weekend. And I think even more so now, retain their coordinators and retain the things that are working well for them. Because, college football, I've said this a million times in this show, college football has been a game of edges for a long time. Identifying edges and then using them to your advantage in whether it be recruiting or strength and conditioning or NIL or whatever, revenue sharing now, finding edges. The fact is now in college football, whenever you find an edge, somebody else will discover that you have that edge and then simply pay more money to get the edge, to even the playing field. And I'm not one to make huge sweeping guarantees. Josh, are we going to get it back? Are we going to have a back-to-back national champion ever again? It just seems so difficult. Ohio State is being dismantled right now. I mean, that doesn't mean they're going to be like a 4-win team next year. They always have this base level to them. But we know how hard it is to put together a national championship caliber of season because of the previously existing circumstances, right? We're talking about having all those things come together, the schedule, the motivational factors, what it was for Ohio State this year and losing to Michigan and then coming back and having that, fall the quarterback and the talent that you have around him. It's really has to all come together for you to do it. And now you have the other factors of once you actually do it, it is going to be nearly impossible to bring your same team back.
That's
whether it's coaches or players.
Yeah. If we had a back-to-back national champion, which I kind of agree, I think it's a lot harder now, that both teams would look a lot different in those two national championship years. You're probably going to have a different court. You're not going to have the same quarterback at your school for 4 straight years. Like that's
and that's something that you need to have. Now, Ohio State, I mean, they had their quarterback for 1 year this year, and they ended up winning a national championship. So that feeds into what Chris is saying here on the Equitable Bank inbox.
Hi, Chris.
Chris says back-to-back is easier now. There are only about 6 teams that have a realistic chance to win each year.
Okay.
So to me, it's more likely that one of those 6 teams happens to get a couple of recruiting classes of players that are superior, that they win back-to-back natties. Will anyone be shocked if Ohio State wins again next year? They'll have the number 1 receiver. If they go portaling, they get a serviceable quarterback and running backs. They will be set again. Once again, I'm not saying that they're not going to be good, but I think you're discrediting a thing that is still important in college football, which is continuity. Think about what Ohio State did prior to this year. A lot of those guys came back. I know Jeremiah Smith wasn't one of them, right? Jeremiah Smith was new this year. But a lot of those guys decided, no, and I'm coming back. Ohio State spent a lot of money to retain its roster. And so there's natural turnover in there next year. And there are guys that are going to end up getting or have ended up getting poached or whatever it might be. And guys that are going to the NFL. But I'm mostly talking about coaching staff. It's really tough to remake yourself on the fly. Nebraska's doing it. Mm-hmm. It's really tough to remake yourself on the fly and immediately have high level success. I think Nebraska can add to what it had last year, mostly because I think the coaches that they've gotten have been upgrades. But with Ohio State, when the bar is all the way up here, and they had a guy who is well known as the best defensive coordinator in the country, point blank, period. It's just a hard thing to live up to. And I think continuity still matters as well. So to answer the question, like off its face, if you're asking me, would you be surprised if Ohio State won the national championship in blank year, any year? I'd be like, no, of course not, because of the reasons that Chris just said. But when you think about it in context of what they've just done and what they'll have to do to be able to get to that position again, it seems less likely to me than before. In my mind.
Can you figure it out during that early part of your schedule where you're playing teams that aren't really up to snuff, except Ohio State is playing, I believe, Texas to open the year?
Is that week 1?
Yeah.
I know it's on the schedule in the non-con. But, I mean, you could lose a game still.
Sure.
And be in the playoff. I don't know. I really think that is an underlooked part of how you build a successful college football team still. You still have to have some level of continuity. And if you're that team, the kind of motivation and whatever, and it still has to all fall in the right place for you. It seems like there's more of an element of luck, especially when you include now that there is 4 times as many teams in the college football playoff soon. 3 times as many right now, 4 times as many potentially going forward. Yeah, there's more competition that you have to deal with, for sure. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We have the polls. We'll tell you what to watch on the other side on 1620 The Zone. Let's take to the polls, Josh.
Just like yesterday, one poll question, but it's very important.
One poll question. What is wrong with us this week?
We're really sportsy this week.
I don't know. We talked about the stupid video game for 15 minutes, maybe 10.
What do you want me to like? Hey, do you miss?
Nothing came up. No, nothing came up. Nothing came up naturally. So we're not going to force it.
Right.
All right. We're not going to force it. Do you know how to wash a sweater? That is our one singular poll question today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. There's some common sense that's baked into that cake.
You got to hang dry it using the right hanger so you don't get shoulder sleeves.
Mm-hmm.
The shoulder hangers.
We're adults. We're adults.
Yeah.
Some aren't. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Has your dad ever handed you a sweater and said, "Hey, you're small, wear this"?
That has never happened.
Okay, well, it happened to Matt.
55% do know how to wash a sweater, which is a pretty low number, to be quite honest with you.
But I would say we have a high population of males that listen to the show. So
yeah, but we're both males and we both know how to wash a sweater.
I would say we're outliers in the men knowing how to do laundry thing.
Guys, it's not that hard.
It's not.
I don't get the, like, you just toss the clothes in there.
Look, I know we all sandbagged when we first moved in with our partners and said, "Oh no, I don't know how to do laundry. Oh my gosh, I've ruined everything. You have to do it forever from now on." But we know how to do it.
It's really not that hard.
It's not hard at all.
You could do it. You could do it tomorrow. But I don't know. Maybe I just ruined somebody's life out there. Okay, those are the polls, Josh. What are we watching today?
Not much. So we'll go through it.
Why
here.
not?
There's not a lot of good things on television today. We do have men's college basketball.
Yes.
Number 11 Marquette at number 12 St. John's.
Josh, that is a huge game.
Yes, it is. It's all downhill after that, though. That's a 5:30 tip on FS1.
That's a 5:30 tip. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That is an amazing night of television. I am fired up.
Okay. Number 7 Purdue at Iowa, 7:00 tip on Peacock, for which you will need to keep the Peacock on at 9:00 for number 9 Michigan State at UCLA. Another one of those pesky 7 p.m. tips for the Bruins.
Yeah.
Out west. Number 14.
That's 10:00 Eastern, ladies and gentlemen.
Right. Number 14, Kentucky at number 25, Ole Miss.
My dear friend,
Mock Pope looking to bounce back after a loss over the weekend. 6:00 on ESPN. NBA doubleheader on TNT, True TV, and Max. 6:30 tip in Cleveland as the Cavs host the Boston Celtics, top 2 teams in the East. In that one. And then we head out west for the Battle of Los Angeles. Lakers at the Clippers, 9:00 tip. No Luka. He will not debut until...
He's there, though.
Yes, he is. He had his introductory press conference today.
He had a sweater.
He did. It was very nice. He did not look chubby.
He probably washed it.
Yes, he probably had someone wash it. He will not debut until at least Saturday for the Lakers. Hockey doubleheader on Hulu. Oilers Blues at 7, followed by Stars and Ducks at 9:30. Connor,
I've received a text on the text line. I'm not allowed to touch the washing machine. Thank you. The wife mandated it because I like soap. What does that mean?
That means he was pouring in a cup full of soap, and you don't have to do that.
Oh, I thought he was talking about like I was too liable to eat the soap or something like that. I like soap.
Don't drink the laundry detergent.
The soap looks good. It looks tasty.
Don't eat Tide Pods. Don't drink the laundry detergent.
I could see why they would start eating that, though.
So many colors.
It looked pretty good. Looked like a fruit roll up almost. All right. Yeah, don't do that, though. Common sense, everybody.
That's right.
That is the show. That is what we're watching tonight. And if you missed anything, you could find it all on our website, which is, of course, 1620thezone.com. The crossover is next.